Dude, so
just
what's your
open.
channel name?
Yeah, I'm gonna go open that up real quick. Let me go to
Okay.
my channel.
Don't create an
Like,
infinite loop now.
No, well, we'll see.
like
So
what?
let me go live.
Green Room Games?
Yep, green room. Ooh, I probably should not be showing you all that.
Oh,
Yeah, until I'm actually there. Let me see. Right now,
yeah, I understand.
built-in webcam, streaming software.
I'm also a content creator as well. So,
Yep, that's definitely not the page you want to show them.
yeah.
Okay, let me go and go to my restream.
Yeah, Unreal Engine is open, and I think the laptop can handle both Unreal and Blender being open at the same time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it should be able to.
So what do you think about Unreal 5?
well, they're promoting the hell out of it right now, and they've been doing that for probably about a year or so. So at this point,
Yeah, for a
it's
lot of
supposed to be
time.
falling next year, March, February is what they're doing. I think they've pushed back the date a couple of times now. So
Yeah,
okay,
The
so
Unreal
Chuck.
5. I mean, I seen some part of it and like they teased it, the
Yeah,
graphics.
I tried it out, and I have a 3070 and it struggles.
really,
Yeah,
Oh man.
so it's not that, and they recommend at minimum 32, but they're really saying everyone should have 64 gigs of RAM, which they should anyway, but
yeah.
most computers do not.
Well, I've actually started seeing motherboards like have you seen the new Mac G5? I think the upper limit on that thing is like 5 terabytes of RAM.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, dude, I'm like looking at the going, are you serious? But that computer costs something like when you max it out, it's like $50,000. Like it's a nice car or a good down payment on your house.
It's like a Tesla.
Yeah, dude, it's ridiculous. Hold on, let me.
Oh yeah.
I just
So
want to.
from
I'm just checking right now. Okay, there I am. Okay, yeah,
yeah,
my feed's going up through. So let me go to a page.
Somebody in the chat mentioned that they're having some issues.
Uh,
Okay.
issues how?
oh,
Uh,
he's in the point six, 2.6. That's why. Apparently.
Okay,
yeah,
so
he
let me see.
says,
Good morning,
"Good morning,
Professor.
Professor. I'm having trouble on putting on the engine versions 4.26.2 in the folder shortcut, but it says is-pl01.
Okay,
Do with
yeah,
that
I,
what
I
you
see, I
will."
see, I see the chat. I'm just trying to figure out what that actually means in the folder shortcut, but it says. Okay,
Um,
James, do you have a working microphone that you can call in real quick and the other thing that we can also do is we can do a screen share. But let's do the troubleshooting later because right now we're gonna have two. Let me get the class started. Let me get everything going, and then we'll get to your issue with opening up Engine at the end of class or when we take a break or something. For right now, just follow along. Can you hear us and follow along with what we're doing? Because the class
Yes,
is being
I can hear
okay.
you.
Fantastic. So, um, okay. So since I've got you real quick, explain your situation. You're saying that you're trying to open up the engine, and when you open it up, the shortcut is giving you
Mhm.
that error message.
Yes, it just gave me an error message. I tried to follow it, like deleting the trash on my OneDrive, and I did deleting all of them, but it
Okay.
still keeps saying this error, like ISPL01.
Okay. So the best thing to do with that, and usually when I get an error message like that, I will take that error message, do a Control C over it, and then type that in with Unreal Engine version, the version that you have, and then error message, and then put that error message there. And then then you'll do a Google search and see because most people will have had situations like that, and if you can go to other people and find the issue. Like right now, that's what I would have to do because I don't actually know what that means. It could be a million different things based on what computer you have, what version you're trying to download, what happened to your files. Maybe the download came down corrupted, and maybe you have to down. I don't know. It could be like a lot of different things. But we can look. There you go. There's some answers. There's a
It,
link.
yeah,
Uh,
it seems like it might be just shortening the install path a bit and maybe change the install directory so it's not not in the same like so it says UE underscore 4.26, maybe like 4 point whatever the version you're installing.
Okay. Well, there you go. But don't worry about it right now. Just follow along with what we're doing in class. And because I'm going to be going through stuff very fast that most people will not be able to work on a project and listen and see what I'm doing at the same time. And only if you had like 2 screens or a dual screen would you be able to put my stuff up on one side, your stuff up on the other side, and then maybe, you know, have a left eye on there and a right eye there and try to follow along. But like everything is being recorded. There are videos that you can go back and watch. So for me, this is more of and like the way that I want the class to work, and I realized that I didn't put the videos up there for lab 2 up there, but the lab 1 stuff is up there. And the idea would be that you would watch the videos prior to class starting, so then that way you have maybe a starting project, you have something that you've already kind of created, and then when I run through it again during class, you can ask me a specific question on, hey, when I was doing this it didn't work, let me share my screen and let me show you what happened, and then that way I can see what happened and maybe guide you through what your mistake was. And then that way we get through the lesson and we do a little bit of troubleshooting at the same time, and you're not trying to watch me and you're not trying to run a marathon and watch your iPhone at the same time trying to like do 2 things, right? So normal flow of the class once I have the videos up there, and we'll probably give ourselves a break over the weekend. I'll just have one in. And here's the other thing too, is that a lot of people are worried about, making sure that their assignment gets turned in on time and that they get their grades and everything. All the labs are not due until like the second half of the class. Okay? So it's not that I'm giving you lab 1 and 2 today and they have to be done by Monday. Okay? I realize that a lot of people are having issues with downloading stuff. I realize that people are having a lot of issues with computers and all sorts of stuff. So at the beginning of the semester, it's more like I'm going to be lecturing a lot, you're going to be listening, and then you're going to be doing your own work on your own with my videos and the ability to be able to go back and watch the class itself if there was something that I said in the class that I don't say in the videos, or vice versa, right? So that's sort of the way that we want to handle the way this goes. So anyways, so I wouldn't worry about trying to get it, because there was a lot of people, I think, last class that tried downloading the software and then that just killed their internet feed. Like they just didn't have enough bandwidth to be able to download the software and be in the Zoom call at the same time. So just follow along, see what I'm doing. If you have a question while I'm doing something, ask. Otherwise, just watch and not necessarily do, just watch. Okay, so before we start, let me show you where that YouTube page is. Let's go here. So it's going to be Green Room Games, and I'll make a link available to this. And it should actually be here. Did I start it says that I'm live. Let's see, videos. I do not see streaming monitor. It says I've been on for 8 minutes. Oh, I threw it on the music production page. Dang.
Okay.
Okay, this is where it will eventually go. I'll probably have to download it from that page. I have multiple YouTube pages, so that's the problem. So right now it's actually going to one of my other pages. Switch accounts, Green Room Music Production. And let's go to that page. So there I am, right there. You can see that it's on live and it's going to the wrong channel. But I'll download this video and then move it over to the correct channel. In the meantime, I am going to set up a playlist, and I'm going to put all our classes in that same playlist, and then I'll make a link available to that playlist. So you can see that the way this actually, when you look at my YouTube page, that you have labs 1 through 4, and a lot of that is because that is about environmental, It's about lighting, it's about creating structures, it's about creating the game area, it's about creating forest and caves and stuff like that, and then lighting it. Game levels 5 through 8 are going to be about the enemy characters, and then 9 through 10 are more about the player and how they maneuver through the game, like menus, and then the win and the lose conditions that you need for that, and then Lab 11 would be how to export your game as a standalone. Then I do have the bonus labs that are down there, and then the FYIs. One of those I was explaining to you guys the other day. Optimizing, it's this one, it's the second one. It's optimizing textures to reduce processing power on your computer and GPU. So that's the video that I'll link. I'll go ahead and link all three of these inside of Canvas soon. But in the meantime, if you were in Canvas, let me make sure that, yep, that's the right class. If you were in Canvas, at least the first links to the first couple of videos are there. So this is a way that you can get there now. Right click, go here. That's the video. And you see right there, Green Room Games. So if you click on Green Room Games, you go straight to my page, and then you have access to all that other stuff, all the other videos that are there. This is how you'll be able to watch the videos prior to class. And these videos are more concise. It's not a class, it's do this, then do this, then do this, then do this, and this is why you're doing them. So it's a slowed down version of these. You can pause, fast forward, rewind, just like any of the other videos if there's something that you missed. So let me take the roll real quick. Let me go and do that, and then we'll jump into the 2 lectures that I have real quick. We'll do what is a game, and I forget what the other one is, but I've got them ready. So let's just go hccs.edu. Oh, I typed that in.
Sorry.
Do you have a question?
No, I don't have a question. I just had to mute because I didn't want you guys to be disturbed by what's going on in the background.
Okay, yeah. Actually, if for anybody that hasn't, I think I can just hit one button up here. It says mute everybody. There we go. Fantastic. Gotta love it. All right, so
So yeah, for now, I'm going to have my departing from the USB, and yeah, and then move it if it's annoying.
okay. So the USB is having problems.
No, not for now.
Okay. Well,
Only
you know,
we open the project for now.
you know what? I'll use you as a guinea pig. We'll see how much you can handle, and then we'll base that off of that. So first person on the list is Hamid. Hamid, are you here? If you'll unmute
It's
yourself. And say,
Ahmed.
oh, sorry, Hamid.
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay.
I know some people get it twisted.
That's okay. Sometimes I'm dyslexic and I have problem with like looking at letters. They just don't come out of my mouth saying that what I mean.
I know. I understand. Some people could just call me Hamid.
Hamid.
Ahmad.
What do you prefer? To say it again the right way?
Hamed.
Hamid. Okay, I'll try to get that right.
Yeah.
Morales, or is it Salvino? The last name Baron? Okay, nope. So we're gonna say not here today. Oh, you know what? I'm in almost the right place. There it is, attendance roster. And today's class 2. Okay, so first person's here, second person's not. James.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Mr. Duran is here. Angel?
Yo.
Yeah, I think you're here. Brian? Mr. Evans? Yay, nay? Okay, probably not. Douglas?
Just call me Doug. I'm here.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Christian, I know you're here. You're the first person. Gustavo.
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you, sir. Fernando.
I'm here.
Thank you, sir. Michael.
I'm here, sir.
Thank you. Olasponi Bomi. Last name Oki. Nope. Okay, there's Brian. Nope, that's a different Brian. Okay, Caesar.
Here.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Stevens. Or Alejandro. Steven Alejandro. Nope.
He sent the message
I
to
see
you.
that Brian just logged on.
Yeah,
Which
that's
starts
yeah, his name starts with a W, so he's coming. Yeah, because we have a Brian with a Y, and then we have a Brian with an I. Maximus, I think you're here. I saw you click in. And Decory.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
Yep.
Yo, what's up?
Thank you, sir. And
Corey.
Brian, Mr. Westbrook, since we have two Brians.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Thank you. All right. Okay.
Say
So,
you guys.
hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Let's go ahead and
Sorry.
mute everybody again. All right. Okay. So let's go ahead and open up Canvas, and we'll look at the little changes that have happened, and we'll explain it for the people that are here for the first time. Okay, so we have, this will probably be here for a little while. This was the explanation of the fact that we were going to be meeting online, where to look for the link, and that you needed to download Zoom, which Zoom prompts you when you click on the link anyways. Then for some of us, we were having issues as far as maybe securing equipment or laptops. We were relying on the computers that would have been in the lab for us to be able to use our projects. There is a laptop that is available for, I guess it's rental. I forget how exactly it works, but if you click on this link, it'll take you to the HCC library. You click on, I guess, the one that's closest to you. I don't know if you have to go to Westloop. If you're a Westloop student, read the prompts, follow. I'm sure there's a telephone number that you can call. Let me actually just click on the page so you can see what it looks like. So this is the page right here. You can see it's an HCC page with the library. And then there are Dell laptops for checkout. I guess there's also Wi-Fi hotspots that are available as well. They're available for checkout at these locations. The location that we would be at our campus, or where the gaming program is, would be Westloop. I don't think there's a difference in the computers. I'm not sure where it tells me where the specs are, but I think it was like an 8 gig computer. Windows 365.
Yeah, it's 8 gigs with like a 150 gigabyte storage.
Right. So an external there would be good, and since it's a school computer, you're probably not going to be able to do any upgrades to it. Now, I did also leave a link to the minimum requirements. So there is, let's see, where is it? Computer recommendations. So if you were thinking about upgrading your computer or going and purchasing a new one, if that was in the cards for you, this is what Unreal Engine says its absolute minimum requirements are for being able to run the software on a PC. So you need a quad core somewhere between 2.0 and 2.5 gigahertz in speed, possibly a graphics card on there that would give you 8 gigs of RAM. So you will be able to run the software, you just won't be able to make like really big levels. And then a 250 gig hard drive. Now I know that the hard drive I think is smaller in the one that's available for rental. But the software when you download it, I think is about 100. No, it's a 10 to 15 gigs. So you should still have enough space there to be able to work on your projects and do it from there. If not, buying an external hard drive and then connecting it to that would solve that problem for you. Now, this is my recommendation for what I would consider the like for me, where I would feel like I was like, oh, it's just barely enough to really get it going. So the same thing would be in Windows 10, anywhere from 2.5 to 3 gigahertz, a 4 gig graphics card, 16 gigs of RAM, which really gives you a computer that's 20 gigs total. Like this one would be 10 gigs total. This is 20 gigs total, and then about half a gig, and you should feel comfortable. You'd be able to get through this class no problem. Now, I've also given you the specs for the two computers that I'm using during the class. So I'm using a laptop, which is a gamer's laptop. You can see there what this computer is able to do, which is 4 gigs. It's got an 8-core. It's got 6 gig graphics card with 64 gigs of RAM, and I've got 2 hard drives, one internal, one external. One's an M2, which is a terabyte, and then I have a 1 terabyte external. I feel very comfortable on this machine. And then I have my desktop, which is what I'm doing my broadcasting from, and then these are the rates that I have on that. So, and then here I've also, this is with me running OBS and all the other stuff that I'm running on this computer, this kind of suffers. I would probably be able to do it fine up here. I just don't have all the USB connections and everything I need to be able to run it from the faster computer. Anyways, so that information is there as asked in the last class. For those that are new, what you'll do is you'll come to this one. This one will be the module that tells you where the next class is. You click here. This will generally be a greeting. Any instructional information that I want you to think about or do prior to the next class starting will be here. The topics for the next class will be there. So there's our 2 lectures that we want to get through today, which is what is a game and then the history of video games. And then what I would be expecting you to have completed or started prior to the next class meeting, which would be that Monday. So that information will change day to day as we have classes. The link will always be here. It will. Last time it said class 1, now it says class 2. All of those figure. Oh, there's Oki. Sorry, Mr. Oki, because that's his last name, or her last name. I don't know. Okay, so we're there. And then this would be the link for you to be able to get in. Link is always available 15 to 30 minutes. I'm usually pretty good about getting that 30 minutes in. And then, you know, we usually have 30 minutes before, anywhere up to 30 minutes to an hour afterwards. I do have another job that I have to get to by 5 o'clock on Mondays. So we'll have to cut it short at an hour after class if we do that. From there, record of the classes are here. So if you missed the last class and you want to see what we did or covered, if you want to see what's going on with the syllabus, if you want to find out what's going on, how you're going to be graded, all that information is in this class right here. So you'd click there. And I believe you can actually watch it from here. And if you want to, you can bounce out and you can go and watch it on the YouTube channel. So let's jump back. And there will be, like right now I'm recording a copy of this to the wrong channel, but there is going to be a record of the class because it is streaming to one of my YouTube videos. From there, you have links to important software. So there's the Zoom software, there's Epic Games. If you want to go back and watch the other video, you can catch up on how to use this link to download the information or download Unreal to your computer. There's a copy of the syllabus, so you can click on there and read through. Again, there's another copy of the information of how you're being graded. There's also a schedule for the class is available here, so that it gives you an idea of how the class is going to progress and what we're going to be doing in the class. Again, watch the other video if you missed the first class. From there, every time we get to a new lab, there will be individual links here that are set to a playlist that has all these videos in order, and you'll be able to watch through the labs. So if you missed class, we did the downloading launcher and installing Unreal. We did this in the class. These are, again, links to separate YouTube videos that re-explain that information. Saving projects and file management, how to use the X, Y, and Z tool for location, rotation, and scale. And we did talk about the differences between geometries and static meshes. We did not get to this, so when we get through the 2 lectures today, we'll start with basically covering the information that was here, and then from there I will have the links available for you in Lab 2 as we start building our structure and building our house for our character to be able to walk inside of. Okay, so let's go ahead and, is there any questions for those that are new this time around, or for those that had issues last time about the structure of the class or what we're going to be doing? Were you guys able to watch the video from last class? Do you have any general questions before we move on into the lectures about the class?
Yes, I for one, I'm totally new in this class because I already missed the first class actually.
Sure.
Like I said before. Yeah. What we're doing creations of games, right?
Yes, this is design and creation of games, game 1306. Is that the class that it's harder to walk into the wrong class when it's online?
No. I'm not
Oh,
walking to the wrong class. It's just that I'm just only new because I used to do like networking and stuff. It was because I had to change programs because the program I was in was obsolete.
oh, okay. So you
Yeah.
so are you still, was the previous one with HCC?
Yeah.
Okay, so what you're saying is you were following a graduation path with certain classes, and then that graduation path was dissolved in favor of a different set of classes, and you're transferring classes or trying to finish that degree program. Is that what you're saying? And
No,
you're
I had to
wondering,
change. That's what made me to move into this program.
okay, so you were not in gaming,
I mean, I like gaming because gaming is one of my hobbies.
but the other program that you were in was not gaming.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand now. All right,
Mhm.
so yes, this is definitely gaming. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, good. So we'll go ahead and move on. Let me go ahead and open up the first lecture. And I will have PDF copies of this for you guys to be able to go back and look. Mostly this is just to fill in gaps and to sort of set the tone for the class, right? So let me go. Well, no, that's PDF. I don't want to open up the PDF.
Sir?
I haven't done it yet. Hold on.
Sir? Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
There we go.
Professor.
Uh-huh.
I did what you said the other day about upgrading my RAM,
Okay.
and oh my gosh, that was actually expensive. Oh my gosh, I had to spend like $200 just to get it. I took my laptop that day to Micro Center, and
Yeah.
it got fixed. It got upgraded the same day, and
Yeah.
I got upgraded to 32 gigabytes. So.
Wow. Yeah, no, right now it's kind of weird. Everything is, there's an inflationary cycle that's happening right now, plus a lot of this stuff is coming from overseas. We don't actually print our own boards, I guess, here in the United States. So, because of the tension in the world right now, with the COVID and the lockdowns and the whatever, I don't want to get into geopolitics, but the result is that we are having issues with getting processors. The auto industry is actually having problems getting certain chips to be able to regulate their engines and things like that. So there's a lot of stuff like that. So yeah, I think this is the first time I've ever watched the prices of computer stuff go up. It usually goes down as new stuff or faster speeds become available. So yeah, I won't say that it was cheap. I'm sure that you're enjoying the heck out of it. I'm sure your computer is flying
I'm
a
enjoying
lot.
the heck out of it right now.
It's a good investment, especially. Here's the thing, and by no means am I pushing. I am a salesperson by nature. I worked at a jewelry store for 20 years. I've worked on the Guitar Center sales floor. I've worked in sales in different aspects, and investing in yourself is, especially if you have a career goal or something like that, is definitely the way to go. Because if you leave your money in a bank or do something like that, eventually depreciation and things like that will start eating away at it, and you usually need to spend it right away. So if you keep the whole thing moving, it usually keeps the wheels greased and keeps your things going. So what I've learned is to invest in equipment. I probably am sitting in a $150,000 studio. Equipment's computers, TVs. Now it's been created over time. I didn't have $150,000 and then just go buy everything. But I've been doing this for 20 years. So I have speakers here that are 20 years old that are part of that count. right? So that allows me to be able to go do events. It allows me to be able to make money doing DJing events or doing presentation, whatever I need to. So investing in yourself, especially in technology, and it's always a good idea. So that investment, you'll look at it and you'll go, yay, my computer works faster, which means I'm able to do the stuff. I can do more things in a day, and that's a good thing. Okay, so what is a game? Essentially what we're doing in this class is we're making video games. So there's going to be the technical aspect of what we're going to be doing with Unreal to create, movements, conditions, logic inside the game. But we really need to understand what a game is, right? Because that's what we'll be creating. So let me move my cat out of the way, and let's go to the next slide. Okay, so the definition, because I love definitions. Definition of a game is: a game is a structural form of play, usually undertaken for enjoyment, right? Enjoyment, and sometimes used for educational purposes. So games are distinct from work, which is usually carried out for basically money, and from art. Okay, and there's a distinction between work for money and from art, which is more for just the pleasure of the thing, which is more often an expression of aesthetics and ideological elements, which is what the art is. So game is structured play that is usually undertaken for an enjoyment, and it's different from work because you're not doing it for money, and it's different from art because you're not doing it for just the aesthetics. You're not doing it for just the visual pleasure of it or the sound pleasure of it or watching a movie, right? However, the distinction is not clear, right? We do have gray areas. Not everything is black and white. And you do have things like people that, people who play professional sports. They are technically playing a game. They are doing it for enjoyment, but it's also their work. And then you also have games that artistically are pleasing. So if you have ever played Mahjong, the little, I guess, what is it, the domino chips that they're using, right? There's actually some sets that were created by by artists and things like that, and just the fact that those people worked on it, or the materials that the thing is made out of, that the game itself is made out of, makes it a work of art, right? So we can have the gray lines on either side, but generally speaking, it's structured play for enjoyment that we usually do for fun. Now, games are sometimes played purely for enjoyment, sometimes for achievement and reward, right? So you play the game for a reward, and for anybody that's played gearing up games, there's always that system of, you get to this level and you get access to this stuff, and you get to this level and you get access to that stuff. So there's the achievement and the rewards, and sometimes there's games that just create like weird rewards. You've done this so many times, you get a reward. So those are put in there because this is what we expect out of a game. They can be played alone, or in teams, or online, or by amateurs, or by professionals, right? So there is no limitation to the level of the game. You can play solitaire and have just as much fun doing that as you could playing tag football or whatever, right? And then you can have situations where you have amateurs like myself playing basketball in my backyard by myself, right? Or you could have professional teams that are playing as teams for money, and they're doing it at a high level. And then where you play it obviously doesn't matter because it's online. There's lots of group games. For example, I'm playing right now Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. I'm in a guild, and there's about 50 people in my guild. So, and then there are also alone and team raids that we do online. And I can only play that game online. The players may have an audience, so there may be people watching you. In the case of basketball players or sports, professional sports, such as when people do entertaining. Okay, so there, and I'm going to use the example of chess throughout this, all the different variations of the stuff. So if you're watching a championship game of chess, you do have spectators. although you still do have the 2 players. And on the other hand, there are players in the game that may constitute their own audience as they take their turn in the play. So as far as the relationship between the players and the game and the people watching, you do have people that are actually engaged in the game itself, which are considered players, and then you have those who are considered spectators, who sometimes may interact with the people that are playing the game. Sometimes they're not allowed to interact with the people that are playing the game for whatever the rules are that have been set up for that game. But that's sort of the relationship you have. So teams, alone, online, pro, amateur, different names for people that could be, or different situations that could be in a game, and then the relation, and then the distinction between people that are actually playing the game and then the people that are watching. Because there are, I mean, God, isn't that what Twitch is? Twitch is just people randomly watching other people play games, but they're participating in the game because they're engaging with those people online. So you do have a blurring of the lines there. So games generally involve mental and physical stimulation, and often both. Many games help develop practical skills, serve as a form of exercise, or otherwise perform an educational simulational. God, there's my dyslexia, and psychological roles. So the idea of a game is that the game can be either mentally stimulating or physically stimulating, right? So we are always going to assign the rules, and we'll get to that in a minute, but basically the distinction between, you can have, the game doesn't have to be non-physical, or doesn't, you know, there are games that are set up that are more for your mind and using your mind to solve. The puzzle games, Sudoku, Mahjong would be another good example. Chess is a great example of that. And then you do have games that do involve you moving around physically on the game board, so you become a pawn or a piece of the game. And yeah, that you have the mental or physical, and a lot of this comes from training people to do things. So if you can make training fun, then people will get better at it. I keep thinking of things like the Karate Kid, the original one, where Mr. Miyagi goes up and he says, no, paint fence, paint house, wax on, wax off, right? And Danielson didn't really understand that he was teaching him how to get, you know, his muscles ready to be able to do this stuff, but he was doing it in a way that hid what they were actually doing. So, you know, you can look at it that way too. All right, so there are a couple of components that have to be present for something to be considered a game. The game needs to be interactive. There has to be a you do something, they do something situation, so interactive. It needs to be challenging. You have to have a certain amount of skill needed for the game, otherwise people will get bored with it and they won't play it. The game needs to be engaging, which is what I just explained. Either if it's not challenging, they'll get bored and they'll stop engaging with it. Immersive, meaning basically that all your faculties have been put into the game. Your sight, your hearing, your sense, your touch, your feeling of time, all disappears if a game is good and it's made immersive, right? And that again depends on the player. Objective goals. So the game needs to have something that makes you the winner and something that makes you the loser. So objectives would be things that you would do to reach a certain goal. So in chess, that would be knocking out the other person's king, right? And all the things, and then there's and that's why chess is such a great example, because you have all the different places, all the different pieces, and each one of them have their own different rules. And based on the rules, because you can actually play different types of games with chess, right? You can have different sets of rules. You can have I don't want to say like English rules or French rules, but like, you know, there may be different ways that you can play the game, just like you can play poker with a 5-card stud or 7-card or aces wild or whatever, right? So there are different rule sets that can be put in with the same game board, but the objectives would obviously be ending up with more cards or still knocking the king down. And that there are discernible rules. Discernible meaning that both people can understand what those rules are, and anybody explain those rules will come to the same logical conclusion, right? So those are the elements. We're going to break those down just a little bit. We're going to go into more definitions. So interactive means mutual or reciprocal action, right? So software, the software is very interactive. So these are examples of, and we'll read those, involving the actions or inputs of a user, right? So when you're playing a video game, your input is coming from you hitting up, down, left, right, hitting whatever arrow keys or whatever controller you have in front of you, and that's your input into the game. And then with that input, certain things happen inside the game, or if you're playing chess, you make a move, and then the other person's turn is to make a move, and they make a move based on where you moved, right? So it's reciprocal. So those two things need to be there for it to be interactive. If those are not there, then it's not a game. Go to the next one. And here's a picture of people doing just that. You have two people on opposing sides. You have the chess pieces. You can see that, well, it's not a video, but you can imagine people making moves and each person taking their turn. All right, so challenging. What makes something challenging is that it's arousing competitive interest, thought, or action. So it's an arousing competitive interest, thought, or action. So your brain, your body, remember we said it's either physical or mental, right? And that it creates some kind of interest, right? So it's stimulating. From there, the other definition is in, oh God, my dyslexia. In, somebody say that word for me after the letter 2. Invigilating?
Invitingly.
Say it again.
Invitingly proactive.
Yeah, the proactive part. Yeah, fascinating.
Yeah, provocative.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. Sometimes I look at
invitingly. Invitingly
provocative.
provocative. Invitingly provocative.
Thank you. Okay, so
Yeah,
so that means that it's asking you to engage with it, right? So it's provocative, meaning that it's mentally engaging. So we see there that it says challenging personality or challenging questions. So you're creating a situation where you're trying to figure out the next thing, and so that's what makes, you know, anyways. So my definition down there would be not easy to do, takes effort to accomplish, develop skills, not to accomplish goals. So to a certain extent, what that means is that if it's too easy to do, it's not going to be engaging, and if it's not engaging, you're not going to want to do it. And so what the challenging means is that you try it at first and you're like, let me see if I can do that again. And then the second time you do it and you get a little bit better, and then you're like, well, maybe I can do this. And that keeps you engaged, which is actually our next term. So the challenging is what keeps us in. And as far as challenging, there's an example of it on a chessboard. So you can see that there are multiple moves that you could do, and that all of these take thought. And in that thought process, you have to say, well, if I move here, is that going to open up something? If I move here, is somebody going to be able to knock that person out? And then if that happens, where does that leave my other places? And so you're thinking multiple steps ahead, which then makes it challenging. And every time somebody makes a move, the whole board is redone, right? You have to go off of their interaction with you. Let's see, engage. There's engaging. So the first definition out of the dictionary would be to occupy the attention or efforts of, to attract and hold fast, to attract or please, right? So engaging means that you're going to grab the attention, and that you're going to keep the person doing what you want them to do, right? So you attract them and then you hold them, or you grab them and then you're making attention. So my definition down there at the bottom is keeps your attention focused on objective goals, makes you want to interact with them, right? So it engages you. It keeps you doing the same thing. And a good game, that's what happens, is you keep playing, right? And you keep playing because you're challenging. Each level gets a little bit. Think about the way the old school, like 8-bit games were, right? The first level was really easy. There was nothing really going on. Sort of introduced you to what the rules were and what was happening. And then you got to stage 2, and then all of a sudden they were shooting fireballs at you. And then you get to stage 3, and now they got laser eyeballs. And so, like, you know, each stage it got a little bit more challenging, and in each stage you had had to learn a new skill. Maybe in the first one, you didn't really have to do anything but jump. In the second one, you have to dodge the fireballs, right, and then jump on the character. And then on the last one, you have to learn how to duck or hide from the laser beams until they're gone or the character is no longer doing that, and then find a situation where you could, jump on them or hit them with whatever ammunition you had to knock them out. And each time it got a little bit more challenging, which kept you engaged and kept you playing. Engaging, all these people are watching this, so they're, I guess, yeah, they're intrigued, their attention has been grabbed, and they're focused on what's playing. Now, the other thing they could also be doing is trying to figure out how good these guys are, because they might be playing next, right? And to see what kind of strategies they might be coming up with. So even though they're not playing, they're not the actual players, they are still engaged, which is awesome. So immersive, noting or relating to digital technology or images that actually engage one's senses. There's engage again, right? One's senses and may create an alternative mental state. You are immersed. Denoting or relating to activity that occupies most of one's attention or time or energy. And for us who have played video games, that's the one right there, right? Our time and our attention to, well, maybe I should be doing dishes or I should be doing chores, and instead I'm spending most of my time and energy playing this game because the game is immersive. They've done a good job of interacting with you, challenging you, and engaging your time, so then that way you are immersed into this game that you're playing, right? So how much time and energy can I devote to this endeavor? There have been times when I've sat there and been playing games and looked down at my watch and go, okay, it's 12, I'm going to give myself another hour before I go to bed because I got to get up in the morning, and then I look down again and it's 3 o'clock in the morning. That's good immersion, right? That means that they've done the other 3 things really well. Here's immersive. These guys are, I guess, world championship players for chess. You can kind of see that because there's some kind of board back there. There's definitely lots of people taking photography. So this must be the top level, or I don't know who these guys are, but definitely that they're immersed. I mean, you can definitely see they do not see any of the other stuff that's happening in the background. This guy is so focused on where this guy's hand is, and he's looking straight down at the board. So they are completely in their game. Let's see, objectives and goals. So this is where sort of the logic starts coming in, right? So expressing or dealing with facts or conditions as perceived without distortion or personal feelings, prejudice, or interpretations. So basically you're saying that you need facts, and that those facts, whatever the conditions or the objectives are going to be, that they are discernible not only to yourself but to other people, right? So the rook can only your pawn can only move one space at a time unless it's attacking, in which case it can move over to the right or to the left, but never backwards, right? So that, regardless of my feelings at the day, my prejudices about whatever, or my interpretation of anything, it's very clear. Everybody can agree to those rules. Of a test, limited or choice of fixed alternatives and reducing subjective factors to a minimum. So when we say move forward one space, what does that mean in the game? Well, the board has been divided. Everybody agrees that this area is one space, and because of that, we can say that this move is one space. So basically everybody sees the root of this is that everybody sees the same things, and that what this gives me is the ability to make choices within a set parameter that allows me and everybody else to then have if this happens, that happens. If this happens, then this happens. If that happens, then this happens, which is what you're going to need inside of a video game. You need to set up the logic. So if I'm a first-person shooter and there's a medic pack on the floor, which is an icon or an element inside the game, when I run over it and hit a certain button, I should pick it up and it should go into my inventory, right? So that's the rules, right, that have been set up by you playing first-person shooters a lot, and then depending on what button the person who's programmed the game is, has a sign for picking objects up, right? Like every time I walk over to a medic pack and hit the R button on my keyboard, this gets picked up and put into my inventory. Otherwise, it's left there, and I can walk over it. So again, rules, and there may be situations for that. You might want to leave that medic pack there because you need to go somewhere else, and you know you're going to take damage, and you don't have enough space inside your inventory. So you're going to leave it there and not activate it being picked up. So continuing with objectives, something that one's effort or actions are intended to attain or accomplish, purpose, goals, or targets. What do I have to do to win, right? So basically, ultimately, where these objectives are coming is I need to figure out what I need to do inside the game to be able to move to the next level or beat the big boss or progress inside the game. So this is where we start setting up what are called the win and the lose conditions. So if we're back in our first person shooter, if I have a health bar, and that health bar is from 0 to 100 points, and every time I get hit by a certain ammunition that takes off 1 point, well then I'm going to see my health bar get to 0, and then what happens when my health bar gets to 0? I should die. But in the game, what does that mean? The video game freezes. We go to another level. That level has certain buttons on it, or you go back to a menu screen, which is another level with buttons that then gives you options to be able to either quit the game or play the level again, or go back to your main menu, or go make changes to your audio, or whatever that option is that happens when your life bar gets down to 0, right? Or in the game of chess, it would be, knocking out the king. That's your main objective, with not even leaving as many pieces. You can sacrifice all your pieces, but as long as their king dies at the end, then you won the game, right? Goals. So the objective is ultimately what the thing is that you need to do to win. The goals are the steps in between. What do I have to do to achieve the win? So an idea of the future, or a desired result that a person or a group of people envision, plan, or commit to achieve. People endeavor to reach goals within a finite amount of time, or settling deadlines, right? So time could be something that could be used as a goal. The fact that you need to do certain things within a certain amount of time. Some games don't have time, or they deal with time differently, but a lot of like the scrollers would have time elements in them. A lot of the side scrollers would have time elements in them, so that could be used. And then roughly similar to, or purpose or aim, to the anticipated result, which guides reactions, or an end, which an object, either a physical object or an abstract object, that has intrinsic value. So what does that mean? My definition: how do I measure winning? When is the task over, right? So how do I know that I win? If we're playing soccer, it's me hitting, and soccer is a weird game because you can have a game that has no resolution that ties, and nobody scored a goal. So soccer is a weird game sometimes. But the idea in soccer would be knocking the ball into the other goal, and whoever has the most of those events happen within a certain amount of time, 2 45-minute periods, wins. And if both people have, I think soccer, they go into a shootout at the end, right? So if the no goals are done, they still need a winner because somebody needs to be a winner or a loser, so they go into a shootout at the end. And I think there's also an overtime. You can have a 30-minute overtime. But anyways, I'm getting off track. But basically the idea is, so as somebody that's writing a video game, I need to create these things, right? So for example, if I'm playing Pac-Man, the idea of Pac-Man is don't get hit by a ghost while getting all the pellets. And if you do that, I don't think Pac-Man does have a time on there. I think you can play for as long as you want, as long as you don't get hit by a ghost. And those are the two conditions. If that happens, then you move on to the next level. If you are, and what makes it engaging is that in the next level, they move just a little bit faster. And or maybe the algorithm lets them find you faster, or they get to you faster, or whatever it is. I think it's just speed. You stay the same speed and they end up moving faster, so you really have to book it to like figure out where you're going to go. And that keeps it engaging, which keeps you immersed because you have objectives and goals that you're following, and there are discernible rules. So the objective, I guess, in chess again would be to knock out the king. I think we've belabored that. So discernible rules: to perceive by sight or some other sense, or by intellect, see, recognize, or apprehend. Right. So discernible. You can definitely, that that's something that is different, and you can distinguish it as something separate. To distinguish, mentally recognize, or distinguish as distinct or different, discriminate. So what that means so my definition again would be conditions that are easily recognizable to everybody, no doubt about the outcome. If I'm playing a game of paintball and I get hit by a paintball and there's paint on my back, then obviously I got hit and I can't say that I didn't get hit. Right? Because it's discernible. Everybody can look at my back and go, nope, you got hit by a paintball. Go sit out until the next level, right? Or the next round. You're out. And so, that's the discernible rule. Everybody can see that condition and agree that that happened. Or in the game of chess, you made your moves, you knocked out the king, king's gone, you're the winner. Everybody, the rules are discernible. A principle or regulation governing contact, action, procedure, agreement. So not only do you have to be able to, everybody needs to be able to see the same thing and be able to distinguish it, but you also have to be in agreement with it, right? So measurable conditions that are easily recognizable to everybody, often set and unchangeable once the game has begun, right? So once you start playing the game, nobody wants the rules to change, because then we call that what? Cheating, right? So you definitely want to say, these are the rules, this is how you're going to win, this is how you're going to lose, and the conditions are all agreeable. We can all say we recognize that this condition has happened, and everybody should agree that yes, that condition has happened. And when that happens, if the game is interactive, challenging, and engaging, you become immersed, and everybody has a good time playing the game. Otherwise, you say, I'm done, I quit, I don't want to play anymore because the rules keep changing, or I don't understand the rules. Have anybody ever there's some board games that are absolutely ridiculous, like that just the rules are so convoluted. Some of these newer games, people that are coming out with these weird card games, some of them are fun.
Scythe changes the rules on you halfway through the game.
Yeah, you definitely don't want that situation to happen. So everybody has to agree with the rules and be in agreement with them at the start of the game. And for example, in chess, that would be agreeing that these things can move only in these directions, right? So if we all agree that these are the pieces in the game, and the king can move one space in whatever direction, the rook can move in any number of spaces, but only in vertical or horizontal movements. The knight can move 3 spaces up, 1 over, 3 spaces up, 1 over, 3 spaces over, 1 over. The queen can move in any direction, horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. Bishops are only diagonal, and they stay on whatever color they're on. And then pawns can only move one direction or to the right to attack. They cannot attack forward. That would make them a defensive piece.
Don't knights move up 2 spaces and 1?
Yeah,
to the left or right?
Yeah, 1 up and 2 up, 1 over.
Okay, just making sure.
That's right. Chess is a complicated game. It's too complicated for me.
What about the rook?
Well, the rook
can move sideways any way on the board as long as it doesn't have a piece obstructing it.
Right. You can move any number of direction, up or down, left and right, but you cannot move diagonally. Yeah. Anyways, so you can see that we can all look at that and go, oh, okay, I see how those pieces are going to move. And then through playing and, playing other people, the game becomes fun. But so those should be things that we are thinking about, ideas that we are thinking about that are going to be in the background as we start learning about Unreal, as we start seeing how the pieces in Unreal come together and how we can move things around and why things are set up a certain way, right? So from here, what we'll do, let me see what time it is. 1 o'clock. Good. So let's go into the next lecture. Yay, Martin gets to do a lot of talking today. There's the next one. Okay.
I mean, we could just focus that on Unreal if you want.
No, I really need to go through these because what this does is it really sets up like ideas and background foundational stuff. Like yeah, you can go into Unreal and start manipulating stuff, but here we really need to understand why we're doing things. So history of video games. We need to have a definition of what a video game is. So a video game is an electronic game that involves interaction with a user interface to generate visual feedback on a 2- or 3-dimensional video display screen or device. So electronic game, user interface, and visual feedback is what you need for a video game, right? Video, visual being the optimum word there. Platforms. There have been tons of different platforms, tons of different manufacturers, but the word platform means an electronic system used to play video games or is called a platform. Video games are developed and released for one or several platforms and may be not available on others. These include dedicated devices such as video game consoles, as well as general purpose computers like laptops and desktops or handheld computing devices, right? So we've seen a lot of these guys. I started my career with this one, and this is the one. Yeah.
I too. Me too. We're in the same boat.
Yeah, I'm.
Oh yes, sir.
Me too. I seen that one too.
Yeah, so you see a couple of the different ones there.
I also had another Atari before.
I remember this. I remember when this one came out.
Genesis Model 2? Yeah.
Yeah.
Super Nintendo.
Some of them I wasn't even thought of yet because I was born like early 2000s.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're also young.
You missed the good generation.
But like, don't get me wrong. I might not know what it is like completely, and I never felt it, but I see
the greatest video game ever.
And I seen like other people play it, and I still see people collect them. And
yeah, there's actually a lot of emulators now that you can actually download and play the old games with. The other thing that is going to be important in a video game is going to be the input device. So here you actually see this is actually a really neat graphic, and it shows you all the controllers that I don't want to say ever made, but most of the ones that you would recognize from most of the major packages. So everything from the Magnavox one at the very top left-hand side to the Atari controllers, the ColecoVision controllers, the original NES, those bright orange ones, second row down, fourth over from the left, and then the classic Nintendo NES controller. Those orange ones were actually from what was called Funovision or Funkovision, which was Nintendo being released into the Japanese market before it came into the American market. But basically, an input device allows for the person who's playing the game to control aspects inside the game. Controllers can be anything from joysticks to a mouse and keyboard. It can be a touch screen. A lot of us play now games on our touchscreen. I play the Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes on my iPad. Everything's with my fingers and I'm touching the screen. You can also have kinetic sensors. You can have things that look like weapons or shotguns. You can have things that look like, there is I think there's a tambourine somewhere in there because there's something that came with one of those Guitar Hero variations where it was like a tambourine. But anyways, so yeah, lots of different things can be controllers. But the idea there is that you push a button or you do something with the controller and then that sends information to the video game system. From there, video output device. So the other thing that you would need obviously is a visual screen. So this now more recently has turned into things like headsets, Oculus, and some of the other variations. And you can have projector screens, you can have television screens, you can have laptop monitors, you can have your iPad, and basically what this is any device that projects the visual information from the screen that allows then the player to interact with that video game. This is actually a very cool chart. If you can, let me see if I can. Nope. It actually. Let me see if I can zoom in a bit. So it actually puts in time when certain game systems came out. And let's see if we can go this way. There we go. So when we talk about video games, we say Generation 1, Generation 2, Generation 3, Generation 4 video games. This actually gives us a timeline of the different video games, when they came out, and what generation they were considered. So this is Pong, the home version of Pong would be what we consider the first. And here what we're saying is the video game consoles. So video game consoles, things that were available to the home market for playing visual games on a visual screen. So Home Pong was the first one. Stunt Cycles, I'm not sure. Atari, the 2600, some of us remember that. That was actually before my time. They're also giving us dates up here across the top. When you see, I think there's a link that's down here, so you can actually go and click on the link and then go and see this chart in better resolution. But video pinball, there's the Atari 5200, which I guess had a short life, and this was Gen 3. And there are actually differences in these generations, different things that happen, how the game systems are, how they're interacting, whether they're connected to the internet, how much speed they had, how many. I mean, video games back in the day were all about how many bits they were, 32-bit, 64-bit, 8-bit video games. And then the distinction went to whether they were on cartridges, whether they were on CDs, whether they were DVDs, whether the games started becoming available online, whether the systems, so there's a lot of different things that make these distinctions, which we'll talk about here in a second. So zoom back out. And okay, so the very first earliest video games were actually created on what are called cathode ray tubes. And this is basically a light tube that was allowed to be able to create a very, very thin point of light and then give you control over that thin point of light. So you actually see one of these tubes over here. So for those that remember the old school televisions before they were flat, maybe you've seen one of these in a junkyard or somewhere. You don't see too many of these anymore, but the big TVs, those when you watch movies from the 80s and the 90s, right? Those tube televisions. And what a tube television basically was a flashlight that had a line that was a light, and that line would scan very quickly across a screen, the other end of the tube, and it would project a color on that tube. So here, there's actually an example. The second picture down is an example of tennis that was played on a Cathyon radio tube, and what you basically had was something to the equivalent of a Lite-Brite, not Lite-Brite, Etch-a-Sketch, where you'd have an up, down, left, right in a circle, and basically you were able to get the thing over. And you can kind of see, like, if you're looking at it, it's like a tennis court from the side, like if you're looking at it straight on at the side, and you can see the left side of the court and the other side of the court, and that little ball in the middle is actually the tennis ball that's supposed to be jumping back and forth. Now this was 1947, so not that this was officially released a game, there was no publishing on this. This was just something that scientists were doing when they were bored, if they had something like this. Now, from there, what ended up happening was that people developed this a little bit further, and Space Wars was actually the first game that was available that you could, and at this point I say download, but it was, remember that the internet was also available between colleges. They were a university research thing before it became what the social media nightmare it is today. But it used to be, the internet used to be for research. It used to be set up between colleges, and you would have terminals that you'd be able to log into and then view files and do that. So these were games that were available on servers at colleges that other people from terminals that were connected to that server would be able to play, because they could get to the file and play it. So Space Wars was one of these first things, and for us, this would be the it would have been an arcade. It would have had a rollerball on it, and Asteroid is probably the closest thing, right? Everybody remember Asteroid, where your spaceship is sort of like a little triangle, and you're shooting out pew 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 pew, and you're sort of floating around in space, and you're trying to avoid being hit by rocks that are just sort of floating by. And if you hit them with your laser, they would blow up, and then they wouldn't hit you, and you wouldn't die. And you can kind of see a representation of that on the screen there on that terminal right there. There's actually people playing the game here, so this is one of the server terminals where they would be able. There's the visual display screen right here, and the magnetic tapes that they're actually playing the video game from. So again, early video game. The first official video game or commercially marketed video game was Pong. Again, this was probably started on some server somewhere. And then developed. You can see the two little Etch-a-Sketch deals right here, which was, I guess, how they were assuming that people were going to be able to control stuff.
They call them dials.
There you go. That is a dial. Sorry, I've been talking too much. Let me drink some coffee. Oh, nothing like cold coffee. So Pong was one of the earliest arcade games. So this was probably before arcades were really arcades. These were novelties, really. And eventually, once enough of these things became available, that's when you started really seeing the arcades. But the arcade explosion really came in the late 70s. Well, actually, there you go. Early video game arcades. Late 70s was really when you started seeing the arcade become a viable business. So Pong was one of the first commercially successful video games. It was created by a company called Magnavox Odyssey, and Alcorn is the person who's attributed with actually writing the original code for it. And he has I think there's lots of like they at the beginning there was lots of knockoffs of Pong, and they were suing people left and right for it. They created a company called Atari, which some of us may or may not still be, which was manufactured by Atari. So Atari was a computer company. And they were putting this game available on their system in 1972. So that was the earliest video game, I guess, that you could play at home if you had an Atari computer system. And the golden age of video games started 1978 to 86. A lot of this is because home computing was still kind of expensive. I mean, somebody made mention of how much money they spent earlier on their RAM sticks. Computers were... My dad had a Compaq. It was the... what was it? I think it was the Commodore 64. I actually had one. My dad was a doctor, and he had bought a computer because he saw what was happening, and he was like, well, I'm gonna mess around with this thing. And there were a couple of games that were available. I remember playing I think these were like Sesame Street games, because I was little. I was very little at the time. 86, I would have been 6 years old. But computers were, for most people, computers were out. They just weren't a thing yet. Home computing had not actually really taken off yet. And so what people would do, and the way they would interact with these games, is somebody would put a computer inside of a box, basically put a screen on there, give you a controller, and then charge you for playing the game. So then that way they could pay for the computer that was inside of it. Now this is nice, and there was like a whole thing with people going and doing this for, as an entertainment thing. But then eventually people wanted to be able to do this at home, and the first generation, or Gen 1, this is the Magnavox Odyssey. This is what the first home computing system would have looked like. And it was available as early as September 1972. So there was competition between what you could go out and go play at the arcade and what you could do at home. The only problem is this was very limited, because what this would do is it would take the red, green, and blue signals from your TV screen, which would normally be scanning very fast across your TV screen to create your image. This is why when you watch old television, right, you would see a scan line go from the top to the bottom top to the bottom where there was an issue with one, maybe one of your CRTs wasn't working correctly, and they would then you would then take these guys down here and put that over your television. So now you were because they couldn't project this on the TV while also giving you the sort of the little laser light to be able to play the game with. And so you can see something like tennis. You can see sort of like a racing game that's right here. So the idea was to keep your guy on the track and try to get there before your other opponent would get there. There was 28 games total for this. Gambling is always fun, I guess, on these things. So there was fake money, like Monopoly money, things like that. And there was different packs that you could buy, and each time you bought a pack, and actually those were already loaded on there. There later the idea of cartridges came out. Which is actually what makes it a Gen 2. So Gen 1s, the distinguishing factors are that they were graphically not very interesting. Think of Pog. I mean, all you have is a bouncing ball moving back and forth, right? So there was sometimes audio was there, sometimes it wasn't. First generation consoles did not have cartridges. They were already preloaded with the games in them. Then we get to Gen 2s. Gen 2s was the first time you actually saw cartridges because people got bored of the games, and if a new game came out, they would have to buy a new console, not just a cartridge. So the idea was, let's put the game on exterior from the device, and this is what actually led to Gen 2s. So there is a ColecoVision, I believe. No, that's the Fairchild Channel F. That's what that's called. The Channel F. And then you have the Atari. I believe that's the 2400. And there you have different games. Now, from this, you have what's called the video game crash of 1983. And what basically happened is that so many crappy games had been developed that nobody wanted. At first it was sort of like it was a fad. It was so cool to be able to play games from home. You could, do it there. And then all of a sudden people really started looking at the graphics and going, this is kind of terrible. And this E.T. game right here is sort of it's sort of like the last straw on the camel's back, right? That broke the camel's back. It's attributed as the game that's sort of like just where people were just like, this is terrible. This is absolutely terrible. And this thing ended up looking like a square with a line with a line that came out with a thing to the left, and that was supposed to be E.T. And you're supposed to move around, and the game didn't work really well, and it had really bad reviews, and it was like the last game that was promoted really hard before the crash. So basically what happened was people just stopped buying games. They got bored with playing games at home, and this led to a crash in manufacturers, people making new games. The market had become so saturated with crappy games that nobody wanted to play anymore.
The developer was forced to make the game in 5 weeks.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was terrible. The game didn't work. It was really, really bad. So then you have sort of Generation 3 games. The Generation 3 game really is about the controller. If you look at the controllers here, most of this was using joysticks or some type of up, down, left, right, cross grid, and you were more holding it like vertically, right? Like you were gripping it, where the new controllers were more two-handed, and you had a distinction between the left and the right hand side, and you basically started using two hands to control your game, where most of the other games you were holding the controller and with the other hand you were moving something. So Generation 3 is the first game that starts coming out with things like this, like crosshairs and buttons. This is actually, so the Family Computer, or the Famicom was actually the
Famicom,
the Famicom was the original Super Nintendo. So this is what was released in Japan, this brightly colored thing over here. And then they repackaged this obviously for an American market, and that's what became
a compact defibrillator.
Dude, it is the weirdest looking thing. Yeah, because you basically put the two controllers here on the side.
It looks like an ambulance.
Dude,
Yeah, that's what it
Yeah,
is.
it looks like one of those shocking things.
yeah.
A
Yeah,
You guys want to see what
defibrillator.
one looks like? I have one on camera.
No,
I
mom
have
is
a,
way.
Oh my
boy just
God.
got a random family call.
Dude, you got it. Like,
yeah, the
boy,
controllers,
oh,
the controllers were attached.
Yeah,
I'm a game collector, sorry. So I have everything.
Whoa. I wish I had that on cam. Oh man, no cap.
So, yeah, so again, cartridges were still being used, and then this is really the era when they started looking at the bit rate. The bit rate basically is how many pieces of information you have to be able to define a certain number of outcomes, or to be able to define something. So what this is it's either a 1 or a 0, right? So it's digital, and then from there you have 8 placeholders. The first one being 1, and then it doubles. So 1, then 2, then 4, then 8, then 16, then 32, then 64, then 128. So if you have 8 bits, you have 256 different possibilities that you can do with that word, and you can have 256 different colors. You can have 256 different positions that the character can move into. So there's a lot of places that you can create volume. So 8-bit volume is not as loud as 16-bit volume. So basically this was the length of the word that was used to describe things that were happening inside the game. And for us, this is a representation of basically what an 8-bit game looks like over there on the side. And yep, just some neat ones that came out. Other things that were happening through Generation 3. Generation 3 was also the first generation that really came out with handheld games that were separate from the consoles, that you did not need a television to run through. This Microvision right here was actually one of the very first ones. This is a terrible design for this thing, because you would basically have to take this thing right here, lift that plate up, which would then expose the inside, and each one of the games was a different plate. So the Microvision was this darker brown color right here, the lighter brown color was actually the cartridge, and everything inside the cartridge was exposed when changing it. So this didn't last very long. It broke very fast. But there's these games, which are the Time and Clock, or the something Mr. Clock games, which if you've ever played Smash Brothers, this is where they're actually getting that character from. And these are collectibles. They are.
You mean Game & Watch?
Game & Watch, thank you. Game & Watch. Sorry. Yeah, it's right there. Game & Watch. Nintendo. And what these were was Nintendo collaborating with an LED, like something like Tiger Games. Remember the old school Tiger Games, the handheld Tiger Games in the 80s? And this was sort of like the first handheld games before the Game Boys came out. But they were very limited in what you could do. Burger Time, I think, was one that actually did really well from this series. From there, other controllers. These are the ones that we're most familiar with. This is actually the older version of the Sega Genesis, and this is the NES that we're familiar with. 8-bit technology. You can see this is 90s. Still 8-bit technology. Still kind of looks the same as that, just maybe a little bit better. I think TV quality. Oh no, that's the next one. TV quality maybe. No. That's right. Yeah, there we go. Let's see. I'm not going to belabor the points too much. Generation 4 was 16 bits, so they were able to make the code a little bit bigger. Processing power on these things became a little bit more, so they were able to handle more color. So you can see the difference between what a 16-bit character looks like and the ones from the original NES. Quite a difference. And the cool thing is you start to see a little bit of shading become available, right? So you can actually get a little bit more of a 3D feel for the characters, although it's very limited because these things are still very pixelated. But you can see that Mario's pants are 2 colors. Homeboy has a little bit of shade underneath where there's a different colors, slightly different colors in green. 16-bit means that you can go up to 65,000 different color combinations as opposed to 256 color combinations, which was what was available in the 8-bit systems. Generation 4 also introduced cartridge-based handheld devices, so the Game Gear or the Nintendo Game Boy. The thing with this generation, although the Game Gear did start coming out with color eventually, but I think the first Game Gear was actually like a monochromatic. sort of like this, where the Game Boys were monochromatic, and then eventually they came out with the color Game Boys. But this was cartridge-based handheld devices that had their own video screens built in, so then that way you could play different games. Generation 4. This is sort of the peak of the Generation 4. This is the Neo Geo, Capcom kind of games that were being created early 2004. So this was still 2004 16 bits. I always tell people my first USB stick was 128 megabytes, and I paid $80 for it in 2004. 128 megabytes. I have pictures on my camera that are bigger than that on my cell phone. So the storage space is ridiculous. This is why these things had to be the way they were. And what they basically did with something like this was instead of having a lot of moving parts, this was just an image that they brought in, and they did a bunch of shading work on there, and so it looked better, even though it really wasn't anything really different from what they were doing here. They had just done a better job of being able to compress images down to a certain file size so that you could bring in something that looked a little bit nicer. Yeah, so the Neo Geo was sort of the peak of the 16-bit generational stuff. From there we get into Gen 5s. Gen 5's thing is really the introduction of CD and DVD technology, multiple players beyond just two. Most of the other gaming systems were just two-player, if not one-player. Here we have multiple four-player games that do start using CD technology as soon as that becomes available. Most of these were marketed. You can see early. The first one was available 1993, with most of them coming out well after DVDs. I remember my first CD, purchasing a CD and a CD player 91, 92, and then my first DVD player was probably just around 2000, 2001 was when I purchased my first DVD player. Other things that started happening in G5 was that they were able to crack the 16-bit. The processors obviously started getting better. You started going into 32 and 64-bit technology, and what that allowed you to do was start to create games that were in 3 dimensions, right? So you would be able to create a plane and create an up, down, left, right, an X, Y, and a Z axis, and then have a camera that swung around your character, or to be able to look from your character's point of view. I think this is also the last generation where they were paying attention to how much, I don't want to move that, how much bit technology was actually there. From there, most of the Generation 5, what distinguishes their handheld devices, they were still using cartridges, but color started to become available on more of the system. So you had the SNKs or the Sega Nomads or the Game Boy Colors. So that was the big thing there. Gen 5, again, was 3D. It was the introduction of 3D. Here's another player. And let's see what was important about this. Really what's happening here is that they're using a lot of what looks like 2D technology. I think this is a true three-dimensional game. A lot of this is just walls and images, and you just not being able to go through them. So it's not as fluid as some of the newer stuff that we have today, but it was the introduction, like Dune. For those who played Doom on the computers back in the 90s or early 2000s, it was basically just square blocks. You had a grid. You moved from one grid to the next grid to the next grid, and depending on when you moved into that grid, you could either see the next grid over or you couldn't, which if you couldn't, it was a wall. So it's kind of weird. Gen 6 is the big thing that happens here. Well, they do go up to 128, so the video quality starts going way up. They start adding these memory sticks so that you can save your games. So they start introducing external memory, and then a lot of these things start moving online. So this is the generation that they start. The internet is by this point 98 to 2015. I think I got my first internet in the house probably around this time. Probably around 2005, 2006 was when I had first, like I was paying somebody to bring internet to my house, a service provider. So that falls right in line with these guys. So people started playing online video games and using their consoles as a way to go online to play their games. And a lot of this still too was you were downloading the game to your console and then playing it from the memory that was here. You weren't, and as it got better, you did start playing your games online with other people. Gen 6 technology for this, not much changed. They started playing with like weird designs. They tried to make cutesy version of stuff. I think the quality of the processors got better and smaller, so the quality of the video became better, and the size of these things got smaller. So those were the big things that happened with the handheld controllers in Gen 6. And there's sort of a breakdown of all the different possibilities, or the number of so if you've got 1 bit, all you've got is on or off. If you've got 4 bits, you've got 1 off, 1 yes, 1 no. You've got about 4 different possibilities, and then when you get up to 256 bit, you get into like the trillions of calculations. So this is sort of just a breakdown of how far they were able to get and how many colors, and why the shading got better, because there was literally more colors that they could use to be able to create better, more realistic environments. Gen 7s started introducing the idea of using kinetics. So you start seeing things like the Nintendo Wii. There's a lot of things where they're scanning you now, and instead of you using a controller, you are the controller, right? So all the kinetic stuff, all the Nintendo Wiis, all those, and then also they started playing around a lot with different types of controllers. Like Nintendo Wii had things like the board that you would stand on. There were all sorts of things that you could put your controller inside of. So if you were playing Super Mario Kart on the Wii, there was like a little what looked like a steering wheel that you could put your controller inside. Here they are. There's all the different types of controllers that you could actually have. Not all of them, but some of them. I did have this one. I had the tennis rackets. I did not have the sword. I think somebody gave me this pack for Christmas, where it was the golf thing, the baseball thing, and the tennis thing. And then I had a different gun. I remember having a different variation of this. But there you see some of the other kinetic controllers, where the Xbox had this. This was the controller for the Wii. So Wii was using this to determine where this guy was. So then that way you could send information to the controller, and this one with the Xbox was actually reading your body and where you were, as well as where the wand may have been. This was a weird thing where they had that little bubble at the top. They got rid of that real fast. Gen 7 handheld controllers now started being able to give you the ability to log online, so back up your games there, be able to play your games from Wi-Fi. They sort of dropped out of they had bigger hard drives, and a lot of this is computing power. The more computing power that was available, the more they could stuff into a smaller package and give you a better game experience from that package. So the cool thing too with the PS controller, you could actually play your game here on the go, and then when you get home, you could put your controller, you could switch over to your game system, and you could keep playing the same game. So there was sort of that. Now it doesn't matter if it's a handheld versus your desktop or your platform controller. Gen 7s again. Here's some of the. I think these are some. Oh yeah, this was the introduction of. This didn't make it. Basically, the idea here was that you would have some type of a small computer that was connected to the internet, and that would provide a service that then you would be able to play or license games from. So this is sort of like the Roku box of video games, and it didn't make it because why? If your controller or your platform, your PlayStation 2 is already connected to the internet. Here they're just giving you access to other games that maybe were not available on your platform. Gen 7 quality is amazing as far as the video quality. And more controllers. Gen 8. Really, I think here it's about the here we're getting into more video quality, and then also playing around with different types of controllers. But most of the technology that from 7 is available in 8. Let me see. What makes it distinguishable? Not much. I don't even know why they call them Gen 8s. Okay, but that basically gets us through video game history. You've gotten a chance to see sort of where we started off with video games, right? In the colleges, at the science campuses. Those became just nerds bored trying to do something with the technology that they had. That eventually led to publishers actually creating games, sort of like Pong and Atari, which were the first ones. That was only available in public at first, or through these large devices, right, because of the power. So basically with video games, once we started playing or using video to create games with, basically the history of it is making it smaller and more powerful with better and better graphics that then allowed you to play more complex games in smaller environments at your home, as opposed to doing it out in public like the video arcade games or the video arcades of the past. With each generation's either getting smaller, faster, or changing the location of where the game was actually played from, whether it was from your controller or from the internet, and then your access to those games.
Excuse me, Professor.
Sure.
When they made the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X Generation 9.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
Okay, well, yeah, my tutorial or my video, my PowerPoint was made several years ago. So there is probably a Generation 9, and I'll probably have to update that, but that's the first. Here's the thing. I'm an audio engineer, and I'm a teacher. So I play games very rarely, and my being part of the gaming market has more to do with my musical endeavors than it does with my skills as a programmer or an artist. So when I work on video games with other people, I'm usually the music guy. So and I've always had 3 jobs, so I really haven't had lots of time to play video games. I can tell you that some of the series that I really like are I played the Skyrim series. I love that. I played the Resident Evil series. That was great. I've had
I love that.
Most of my video game playing was when I was an adolescent or preteen. So, you know, it was, yeah, here's a video game system. Y'all go play. Shut up, please. We're tired. We want to go, you know, my parents, we're tired. We want to sleep. We want to rest. We want to make food and feed y'all and, you know, whatever. And so they weren't, yeah. So, you know, the game was purchased so that way we'd have some entertainment and we weren't bothering them. So I remember the NES, I remember the Super Mario games, I remember all sorts of games that we used to play on that. I did have a Game Boy. I had the original Game Boy. I remember the first time I stayed up after midnight was playing my Game Boy. I was playing the Super Mario game that came with it, and I think I had made it to level 2 by this point. I got to the underwater level, and I looked down. I was like, "Oh my God, it's midnight!" And that was the first time I had that experience. And then after that, you know, you hit puberty, and then video games are not as important because other things become important. And then, you know, real world hits, and you have to start making money because you have to start paying rent, and then your video time really goes away. And that's sort of when I fell off. Was probably about 2000-ish. I stopped playing video games. And then more recently, as games have become more available on platforms and things where I don't have to, like, for example, the game that I play now, I play on my iPad. Why? Because I went to games, the game application on, you know, whatever, iTunes or whatever, and downloaded a game from there. Yeah. Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, they have the arcade, but you have to pay like $5 every month, or I don't know how it is.
Yeah, I give Disney a lot more money than that. Yeah, there's in-app purchases in my game, and darn it if they don't always get me with at least $10 here. And the way I justify it, I'm like, well, you know, I'm not going out to a bar tonight, and it is Saturday, and I am by myself at home working on stuff, so why not? This would be the drink that I would have at a bar. And I'll go, okay, here's the $10. Thank you, Disney. Give me my new gear. Because the game I'm playing is a Disney game, and I'm sure they're the ones getting the money off of that.
That's actually a pretty good way to justify it.
I'm really good at justifying things. But yeah, so those are the 2 lectures that I had for you. So now what we're going to do with the second half of the class, 'cause we've got about an hour and a half left, is we're going to move into Unreal, and we're going to continue with what we were looking at the other day. So let me go back and switch screens here. There we go. And let's go ahead and open up Rails. So where we left off the last time was we were sort of getting used to the graphic user interface. We were getting used to where things were on our screen and what the different windows did for us. Today we are going to create our first environment, manipulating the environment, because last time what we did was we sort of moved around and got used to us moving around in the environment, and now we're actually going to have a goal, which is to create a 2-story house with a door opening with windows that has a staircase that leads from the first floor to the second floor. So that's our goal for Project 2. In that, we are also going to decorate with couches and furniture. And what else is part of this project? The decorating. We will decorate inside and outside. So we will look at how to create sort of like a small gardening area on the outside. Maybe put a tree in there, and then on the inside we'll throw in some couches, paint the walls, and then we'll see how to create a glass transparent plane so that we have not just a window hole but an actual window with a pane inside of it. All right, so if you've already, wrong mouse. So what I have here is I have my test project and I have the class demo. This is the one that we're going to be using in class as I go from project 1 to project 2. So this is what I'm going to select. If this is your first time seeing Unreal open, once you have opened the Unreal Engine, the option that you get is Games. So if you click on Games and you go next, you will be starting a new project. From there, there's a list of different things. There's about 5 different things that you can change. Don't make any changes to it. I think for those that came in early today, they might have seen me explaining to one of the other students about what the different options were in that. And if you have any questions about how to set up you can ask me after class. But for right now, I'm just going to jump right into the project that we had started the other day, which I had named Class Demo. And again, we didn't really do anything. We're just sort of moving around in it and getting used to the different windows and screens. Okay, so this is where we left off the other day, and this was the difference between, I think, the static mesh and the geometry. So let me move around a bit and show us what the area sort of looks like right now, right? So this is the first-person character. When I push play, that's who I am, and this is what I'm going to look at. And so all we see are the arms and the gun, because from the perspective of the first-person camera, that's what we're actually going to see. And let me go ahead and push play just so that for those that have not seen this yet, this is what our world looks like right now, with the boxes and the different things that we manipulated last time.
Those are like a making of COD.
Yeah. Fortnite is made with this. A lot of the first-person shooter stuff is made with this. So I think my brother used to play. It's like an army game. Special Ops. He he would lock him. Yeah, he would lock himself like when Special Ops would come out, he would lock himself in a room. Like his girlfriend, nobody could get to him. His girlfriend, nobody. Like for a month, he would just be locked in his room, playing it until he got bored of it, and then he's like, "Okay, I'm done." He'd emerge.
Rainbow Six.
Huh?
Rainbow Six.
Yeah, dude, he was nuts about that. So anyways, so this is our default game area. There's a couple of changes there, some things that we've added. So for those that open up the default first-person template, this is about what you would see. Now, the very first thing that I'm actually going to do is I'm going to change the floor. And the reason why I changed the floor is because right now the floor is a static mesh. I don't want to use a static mesh. I want to use a geometry, and the reason why we don't want to use the static mesh is because if I add a material to that static mesh, remember we don't have much control over it. So I'm going to go to content, I'm going to go to starter content, material, and I'm going to pick a tiled floor, and you're going to see what happens. So unless we are an ant or we're making a game called Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, this is not very useful for us. So I'm going to select the floor, and you can tell that I have it selected because you can see that there's a gold trim that has, and the way I'm selecting is by hitting the left arrow key. So I left click on it, and on my mouse, left mouse click, sorry, and I have selected the floor. Once the floor is selected, I'm going to hit the delete key on my keyboard, and that element will now go away. And you can see that it also has been removed from my world outliner. It's no longer there. So what I'm going to do is I am now going to go to geometry, and I'm going to grab a box, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer to where the floor was, and I'm going to place the box on the floor. Now it's going to come in a little bit higher than the rest of it, but I'm just going to drop it down using my my multi-tool there and grab the x-axis to move it up or down. Now from there, remember that we don't want to stretch this, because if we stretch the geometry, we are stretching the cubes that are built in there, and when we add a material to it, that material will be stretched also. So what we want to do is we want to select that geometry, and then we're going to go into the details panel, and this is where we're going to change its dimensions. So I'm going to leave the z-axis 200 units, and I am going to extend this out by 5,000, and then I'm going to extend this out by 5,000. And what we should end up with is an area very similar in shape to what we had earlier, maybe just a little bit bigger, and we're still inside of our walled cage. Good. All right, so from here, now if I take that that same brick material and place it on the floor, you'll notice that it comes in at a reasonable size, and if I push play, my character does feel like he's, or she, whatever, walking on a, I don't think we have any females in this class, right? I think we're all
That's what I was thinking the other day. I think everyone should do that.
yeah, I think we're all dudes here. But anyways, and apologies if there are any.
I thought we had at least, I thought it was like one person and her name was like Danielle or something.
I thought so too, but they haven't actually made it to class yet.
So
I saw that name over Ivan's
I just think
face
in
cam
my
earlier, and I
opinion,
think he
she
changed
just-
it.
Okay.
I think it's, in my opinion, it's just a majority of males and then maybe just like one female.
That's what generally always happens here in our gaming classes. It's you know, I guess whatever. Anyways, off topic. But our floor looks great now, and that is because we created a geometry, we pushed the geometry, we stretched the brush settings for the geometry to the size that we wanted, and then when we placed our material on that geometry, it came out looking nice, as opposed to that, right, where we have that big thing. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that guy. All right, so so there's our floor. Now, the next thing that's going to happen is that, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you decide, I'm going to erase one of these walls, and I'm going to go ahead and push play, and I'm going to show you that, ooh, had some physics there. There's the edge of the game board, right, the 5,000 by 5,000, and I'm actually just going to back up and fall off the edge. And now I have died. Because there is an instant kill in the game, in the first-person player, that if you fall below a certain z-axis, the game stops. So I'm going to hit escape and move back up, and my character is still in the same starting point. So I definitely want to create a system that my character cannot fall off the edge, right? Now, same thing with these walls. These walls are actually generated using static meshes. So I'm going to left-click, delete, and left-click, delete. So now we have no walls, and I'm actually going to clean up my area a little bit. I don't like these guys. Don't like that guy. Let's get rid of that light, which was from the other day that we brought in. So we can show that, and we'll get rid of our staircase for now. And that box, I think, is going to be deleted and deleted. Okay, so now we have just the white boxes that would have come in, and the floor that we have created at this moment. All right, so from here, what I want to do is I want to create my first wall. So I'm going to go to geometries again. I'm going to grab another box. I'm going to put that out on the floor. Now, this time you'll notice that the box already came in with its material. What this is, the reason why this is happening is because we have a material selected, and when we drag in a geometry, this is what's going to happen. So if I did not have, so down here I'll just click in the empty space and you'll see that none of them are highlighted now. If I grab a geometry and drag it on the floor, you'll see it comes in with the default no material skin, right? So this is sort of like the checkerboard that's in the background of a Photoshop document to let you know, hey, this isn't really there, it's just there so that you don't see a black screen behind you, or the black from the television screen. Alright, so we'll go ahead and delete that one and go with the one that doesn't have a skin on it for right now. So I can show you how to put one on there. Well, we just did with the floor. But anyway, so I'm going to select this guy, and we're going to go to the wall, or go into the details panel, and then scroll down until we get to brush settings. And then from there, we already know that the floor is 5,000 by 5,000. So I already roughly, know what one of these is supposed to be. So if I do 5,000, I should get a wall that is the same length, although they're not lined up at the moment. So I can just grab my wall and bring it back in. Now, as we do this too, you can zoom in. You will notice that you will see sort of like as you're moving, especially when it's out there and you can move it towards you, you can see where the box is going to end up. So it's giving you sort of like an outline view of that. And then you can use that to line up with the grid of the other square. So you can see that I'm moving that in until I am not over it, because you can go over it, right? So I'm going to line that up right with the edge. And if I do that, I should have at least one of those angles correct. And let me, again, slow down my camera speed. And we can see that there is no overlap on that edge. Okay, now we still need to fix this side, right? Because it's probably going to be shorter on one end than it is on the other. So whatever it's extending out on that end, it's missing over here. So same thing, we'll grab the X, drag that into position, and then zoom in and check. Now the reason why this is working so well is because I do have my, my movement locked to the grid, and I am moving 10 spaces at a time. So every time I move, I'm moving 10 units. If this is turned off, or this scale is at a lower, you may not be able to line them up so effectively. The other thing you can also do is I can click on this square down here, and I think I just moved something. No, I think I'm still lined up. It just looked like I moved it. Is I can select the object, and again, in the details panel, I can go to the transform tool, and because these are both the same length and appearing in the same place, either the X or the Y should line up. So if I click on this one, you'll see that this is 360 by 120. So notice that the X is negative 360. So that stayed the same. And if you weren't able to line it up for whatever reason, let's say I move that over and then I type in negative 360, I am now aligned, right? So you could do it by sight, by grabbing the XY tool and dragging it into the right place, or if you know what one of the axes are and what corresponding axis that would be in the other object, you can align them by actually just typing in the numbers. Now, the other thing is that right now our wall, let me slow this camera down because that is driving me nuts. All right, is that the wall is 200 units high. Its z-axis is 300. So our character this person in the game is 200 units tall by 200 units wide by 50 units thick, I think, is from front to back. So if I walk up to this wall and I have a 300 unit wall, it's going to be just above my head. Now, if this wall, let's say, was 200 units, I should be eye level with it. Now, I think what happened in the last example was some of this was actually below our plane. So that looks just even with us. Let's make this, let's say, 100 units. Now, the way that I'm getting it to line up with the platform underneath is I'm hitting the END, the end key on my keyboard. So you know how you have insert, delete, home, end, and then you have page up, page down, which is next to your numeric keypad, right above your up, down, left, right arrow keys. I'm hitting the end key, and what that does is it aligns this platform with the edge of the other platform. So that makes it really easy to stack things on top, and there's no gap in between them. So that's a really neat way to do that. So that's the END key on your keyboard. So let's push play again, and this is now only 100 units tall, and you can see that it is indeed shorter than I am. And at 100 units tall, my character can actually jump on that wall and fall off. Yay, I'm dead again. Alright, so let's move back into the game. So, 300 to 400 units is generally tall enough to make a good wall. So, let's go. We've selected the wall again. Let's make the wall's z-axis, let's say 300. Again, some of that is hiding underneath the surface because it expands from the middle. When you make changes, it always expands from wherever that point is in the middle. And so that's why we got some of that underneath. I'm going to hit the end key on my keyboard again, and now I have my first wall. And let me move the camera a bit faster so we can see that a little bit easier. Nice lined up wall. Okay, so from here what I want to do is I want to go ahead and dress the wall. I want to put the skin on the outside of it, or the material layer on the outside of it. I want there to be a distinction between my floor and my wall, so I'm going to go find a different type of brick and lay it in there. And just prior to doing this, I'm going to right click on the object. I'm going to say select select all surfaces. Oops, no, that's everything. Why did I grab everything?
I'm pretty sure you have to do it in the transform tool. You're trying to look at select all adjacent surfaces, right?
Right, yeah. There it is, right there in geometry, sorry. Yep, thanks.
Yep.
Brain part. There it is. So select, and then select all adjacent surfaces. That will then make sure that we have all the surfaces just for this one object and not everything in the game, which I'm glad I don't have a lot of stuff in the game right now because that would have killed my computers. So we'll grab that, drop it on 1. It should apply to all. And the other day I showed you guys how you can clean this up so then that way you can align the different angles correct. Now the thing with that would be obviously my player will never see this side of the wall, so really I didn't need to put it on there. It's now taking up RAM and space, I guess, memory, unless of course we turn this into a static mesh, which would then make it a little bit easier for your computer. But either way, we have the wall built. It is now tall enough and we cannot jump over it, but we only have 1. So we need to make a copy of this. So I am going to, I believe it's Control W in this software, it's not Control D. But if we right click on the object, we should be able to go to Edit, and there is a duplicate, and a duplicate is Control W. So you can either use the shortcut Control W, or you can go right click on the object, go to Edit, and then Duplicate. And once we've duplicated it, we can see that we now have 2 of them. and from there I can just position this one in the proper place. Same thing with the aligning, and the aligning should be actually a lot easier because we already should have, and nope, this one didn't. There we go. And if you can't grab, like right now, you see how the x-axis is kind of hidden? I can't really get to it, but I really need this perspective to be able to see that I'm aligning it. If I have the object selected, I can then go here to the transform underneath its details panel and literally shift it this way. So what I'm doing is I'm clicking and dragging it here from the location. So I don't need to do it from the object itself. I can just select the object and then use this to slide in. And if we remember from the last one, this was negative 360, so we could have typed that in one more time. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna give my. I'm wearing a wireless mic on my head, and I've also got some pretty some big headphones on, and they're just pushing into the side of my head. I just need to move this for a second, relieve the pressure. Yeah, I'm wearing glasses, then I've got a wireless mic, and I've got a pair of headphones on to get this to work. And they're like pushing on my temple, like that little thing right above, like the back, like up and to the left of your eye. Anyway, so we have our second wall. So now what we want to do is we want to make the two walls on the other side, right? So there's actually a really easy way to do this. And to keep it more or less aligned where we are. So what I can do is I can come down to one of these points, and if I, obviously you have to have the object selected, right? So we select the object, and I'm going to come down to one of these points, and I'm going to right click on that point. And what that does is it moves the XYZ tool from the center of the object to this point, and my pivot can then come from this point. So I'm going to hit the space bar to go into the into this tool, and I think before we do this we need to duplicate it, otherwise we're going to be moving just the regular wall. So before I move forward, I'm going to select this object. I'm going to say edit, duplicate, so I have a second copy of it. Move that back in, and again for some reason it's done that, so I'm going to go negative 360, so I put it back into the same place. Okay, so now with the copy of the wall, the duplicate copy, right click on the bottom vertice, and then space bar to get us into the scale, into the rotation tool, and I want to rotate it this way because I want this wall to go out that way. So I'm going to rotate the wall out, and you can see that it's moving in degrees of, I think it's 10 degrees at a time. And so now we've got it out to 90 degrees. Now the only problem obviously is that we did the outside vertice, and in doing so it moved it from that point. So from there what we'd have to do is spacebar, and then move the wall back in. And then we can just check it and see if it's lined up close enough for me, especially since my character is never going to see that side of the game. And now all I have to do is one more duplicate, and I have my wall. So let's go duplicate, which is Control W. We'll then grab that and then move it to the adjacent side. And then if we need to line this up a bit, because I'm a little bit far away. Okay, so the only thing other that I ask you to do in 1E, which would be the end of Project 1, would be to move all of these boxes into a corner so that I can see that you can move objects around after creating this floor. And then that we're going to create one more interior wall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy, doesn't matter what side really, I'm just going to grab one of these. I'm going to do a Control W again, so I have another copy. And I'm going to move this wall in to the interior. Then I'm going to grab my person, my first person player, and I'm going to slide this person back here. So this is going to be the starting point for the game. And in doing this, you see how when I move it See how it moves, but the world doesn't, right? There's actually a really neat shortcut, especially if you have to move long distances like that, because you see how I had to sort of like move it, then reposition my camera, then move it again. But if I hold the Shift key as I move, notice that my player or the object that I'm moving stays in the same place. And what I'm able to do is move in that axis that I have selected, right? So I've selected the y-axis, I'm holding Shift, and now I can just drag my mouse over indefinitely, and I don't have to reposition my camera. All I have to do is move my character more or less where I want them to be. Now, from here, the neat thing about the first-person character is that we get this sort of like little window-in-window, or this picture-in-picture, and this is actually showing us what the character is going to see when the game starts. This is the direction that the camera is actually pointing in. So if I want this to change, I'm going to select my character and rotate them. So maybe I want them to be looking down the hallway, maybe I want them to be looking at this wall so that they have to turn around. So wherever you want your character to be. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have them facing one of the two walls, not the short wall, but the longer wall. And that's going to be the starting position for my game. So if I push play, or game, for my character, you can see that that's indeed where I started. And then from here, I'd be able to start moving. For those that are very acute, you've noticed that we have not left a way to be able to get into the rest of the game. And obviously, we are now not tall enough to jump over the wall, right? So I'm going to hit escape and go back into editor mode. And the way we can solve this very quickly is by selecting this wall, shifting it off to the side. Now I have a hole that my character can indeed walk, and I've created sort of a, well, you sort of have to walk this way, and then you'd be able to get into the larger area or the game. Now, if I wanted to kind of close up this area, I could do that, or I can have the start point or the entrance point to the larger game be somewhere else. So I'm going to select this guy, do another Control W, so I have another copy, and then that additional copy I'm going to slide over this way. So now we have an opening in our wall that was generated by creating two separate walls, right? Now, I would like to clean this up a bit, not have pieces going way out over there. So again, remember that in rescaling this, I don't want to use the transform because that would throw the graphic off, the bricks off. What I want to do is go back to my brush tool. I'll scroll in the details panel until I get to my brush tool. And here what I would do is I would just reduce the length to a size that will make sense for whatever it is I'm trying to do. Same thing with the other side. Grab that one, reduce this, and in this case I might need to move that back over because it is doing it from the center. So real quick, let's just make it look like that. Now remember that our character does have a width. There is a these walls do come in with what are called blocking volumes, which is why if I try to hit it, my character stops. They can't just go through this. So I do need to make sure that the area that I have provided, wow, I thought I wasn't going to be able to get through that. I actually got through that. I thought I'd made that too little. But if, let me actually make it too little. Oops, wrong way. You can undo your last action, so you can hit Control Z to undo your last action. There we go. And let's grab the Y-X. I'm doing it again. Let's just do it from here. Let's do it this way. Now that should be too tiny for me to get through. Yeah. Even though there is a passage through the wall, it is too narrow. So remember that you do need to leave a certain amount of units, generally about 200, and that should now be big enough. Okay, so now we can move into the larger. Now the reason why you might do that is maybe you want to give the player a couple of minutes to, or a moment to, orientate themselves and where they are without enemy characters coming and hitting them, or maybe you want to create a separation from that side to the other side, so you have different reasons why you might want to break up the area. Now, the only other thing is that in doing this, there was actually text. There was a text box that was in the original floor that said first person template. We can't see it anymore because it's probably inside the floor somewhere, but we can still find it by coming over here to the world outliner and hitting the word text, which is what it is. It's a text box. So when I do that, you'll see that I get a text icon template, and if I select it, yep, it's there in the middle of the floor. So I'm just going to grab it and move it up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this to write my name and then the word portfolio or demo project, but I'm going to use this sort of like graffiti. So there it is right there. And I'm going to move this over closer to where the character actually starts. So now, obviously, it's at the wrong angle, so we'll have to rotate this 90 degrees. And then from there, we'll place it up against the wall. And for some of y'all saw that, right? You see how it kind of like, see this? See when that's happening? See how like it can't make up its mind if it's trying to give you the text or the wall graphic? What's happening right here is that you have two materials occupying exactly the same space, and the game engine is trying to decide which one to show you. So we obviously don't want this. What we want to do is we want to bring the text just a little bit out away from the wall. We obviously don't want it floating. See how it's floating in front of the wall? So from here, what I would do is first I would slow down my camera so we can see detail, and I can see just how far off the wall I am. And I can, and what's happening here is that we're moving those 10 increments at a time, right? So we can't put it exactly where we want. So I'm going to turn the snapping tool off for that. And then I can then very easily bring it as close to the wall as I can without it giving me that weird fidgeting back and forth where the game couldn't decide what it wanted to, which one of those two materials it wanted to show you. So let's put the camera back on 4 so we can zip around. Now the only problem with this is based on my two colors, the blue and that rock color in the background, that's not very easy to see. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to the details panel, and inside the details panel, and again this is with the text being selected, you can see that one of the options is text, and that's actually where I'm getting the words for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write my name, Martin, or Martin's portfolio. And that will then change the text that I'm seeing for this, right? Portfolio, I probably misspelled that. I feel like I'm missing an O somewhere. Anyways, close enough. I'm just going to say Martin's work. Dyslexia is so much fun. Martin's work, Martin's world, Martin's map, Martin's project. I don't care as long as I can see that you're manipulating the text and that you've put it up against the wall and that it's not floating off the wall. It's as close to the wall as possible is really what I'm looking for there. And also the other thing that I can do with this is I can change its color. So right now it's this very dark blue, which is hard to read. I can, what I've done is, again, I've got the text, let me close this box. I have the text element selected. I am in the details panel for the text. I have scrolled down far enough on the details panel that I see text render color. And if I click there, I can now start changing the color, and I can make this thing a nice bright yellow. So it sticks out and it's very easy to see against the background text or the background brick. Let's see, how much brighter can I make this thing? Let's go into no, that just makes it white, that makes it yellow. We can go darker color. For most that have been, for us that have been in Photoshop, they should, the color picker tool there should be very, very similar. And for those of us who have used, what are these things called? The hexadecimal values for your color. These should still be the same, and your RGB colors might still be the same. You can also color pick. So you have a color picker tool there that if I select the color picker tool and pick the sky, it would change it to that color. Go to the color picker tool again, and let's pick the white on the clouds. It'll make it that color. And I would hit enter, and it would then change it to that color. So it's easy enough to change colors. I'm going to make it go back to the yellow so I can see it. I'm going to click OK. Oh, darn. I'm doing that to the sky. I don't actually have this selected anymore. There we go. And that's why it wasn't changing colors. And OK, fantastic. So now we have, when we start the project, if I push play, you'll see that my character sees, this must be Martin's portfolio or Martin's level or Martin's work. And then I'm going to be able to walk into the area where our house is going to be. Okay. So last thing would be grabbing these boxes and moving them. You can select and hold down Shift and grab multiple boxes at the same time or multiple objects at the same time. So if some of these are in stacks, you can just grab the stack by grabbing multiple objects. And again, using the Shift key when we move these things might be a little bit easier so we can see where they're going. So I'm going to hold down Shift and drag these boxes over there. I'm going to go Shift, Shift, Shift. Now I don't need to move all of them. I can just delete a few of them. I just want to sort of clean up the floor a bit. Okay.
What's the shortcut to delete?
The delete key.
Oh, okay. That was
Good question, but yeah. And that's why I hadn't said anything, because I was just hitting. I was like, delete. I'm hitting. I think I said hit delete. So yeah. So it is actually the delete key on your keyboard.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anytime you guys have a question, please. Like I said, I am.
I have a question. You have to know. Had you had to done what you did the other day to do this? Sure.
Right. What we were doing the other day, I was showing you how to use all the stuff like see how we're moving around? I explained that the other lesson, right? How to select an object by clicking on it. I explained that in the other lesson. I explained that these were static meshes versus geometry. That was the other lesson. This is the first thing that I'm going to see that you've done that I can actually, that there's a measurable, distinct, you did it or you didn't do it.
Okay.
And this is going to be what, so if here, hold on, let me go back to this screen and let me go back to that and here. So you see lab 1, downloading, installing Unreal Engine, saving projects, creating the game area. That's what we just did. Everything that we started on today was we put a geometry on the floor. We made it 5,000 by 5,000. We created 4 walls. I showed you how to pull those walls apart and ways that you can select those walls so then that way your character doesn't fall off the game area. And then we made a copy to create an interior wall with your name. And we used the text object that was already in the game to create your name from it. So what we're doing is we're very slowly introducing you into how to move objects around on the screen and make them do what you want. These were before boxes, now they're walls. It was before it was just a template type area. Now it's a tiled, bricked, walled off area with my name on it. That's now clear that we can start building our game on top of. So this is where actually lab 1 drops off, and then we're going to start picking up with lab 2. So in lab 2, we pick up from here and we start building our first building, right? We start building our house. I say building our house, right? So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to go grab another one of these geometry boxes. I'm going to place that on the floor. Now, and it came
we don't see Unreal Engine right
oh,
now.
thank you. Appreciate it. There you go. So
Yeah,
let me,
because the only part that got me confused is where you got the materials. Had to
Okay.
rewatch the both.
so materials are coming. Remember that there was that content folder that the software asked you if you wanted to download or not when you started your project, and I said yes, make sure that you downloaded it. And if you
So
didn't download it, then you're missing the content folder.
So yeah, I'm missing.
Okay, so just so that you would see where that is, this is your content folder. This is the starter content. And if I double click in the starter content, I go into materials. So content, starter material, materials. This is where those bricks are coming from.
Yeah, I can see it. Materials.
So you do have this?
I do see them. I click materials and then there.
Yeah. So if you have that folder, if you have content, starter material, materials, this is where I'm getting those materials from.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
I had to rewatch the whole thing just to make sure because I got distracted by the other class.
No problem.
And then here I'm like a bit delayed because I couldn't pay attention to what you did yesterday. So yeah.
Okay, not a problem. Like I said, everything's being recorded. I'll make a clip to that available, and all of this stuff will be in videos that you can watch later that are going to be on YouTube, which will be in this area right here. So you'll see them individually here. And we're not going to get too far into lab 2 because I see that we only got about 30 minutes left in class today. So let me get moving. All right, so to start off the house, we're going to go grab a geometry box, and that is going to be our first box. Now our box by default comes in 200 by 200, 200 by 200 by 200, which is obviously not big enough for us to sit inside of, right? So we do need to make that structure larger. Now, based on the fact that your character is 200 units tall, a 300 unit house would feel like 8-foot ceilings. If you had a 400 unit house, if you made your z-axis 400 units, it would feel like you have really tall ceilings, right? So it really just depends on the feel that you want for that building. Is it a shed? Is it a mansion? And based off of that, you would put the ceiling height anywhere between 300 and 400. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. So I still have my box, the original box selected, and I'm going to, let's say, make this 300 units tall. And again, remember, it pulls it from the center, so you want to lift that box up and hit the end key on your keyboard, and then that'll make sure that the two sides align, right? So then it goes back onto the floor. Now, from here, what we want to do is we obviously want the width and the length of the house. So that's going to be our X and our Y axis. And let's say we make this 1,000 by, I don't know, let's say 2,000. Maybe 2,000 is too big. Let's make this 1,500. Okay, so there's our house. Now it's right on the door, so I'm just going to kind of pull that back just a little bit so we have like a little bit of like a garden area, or you have to walk up to the house, not just immediately hit the house. And let's go ahead and pull that up, hit end, and I'm going to walk over to it. I'm going to push play. And I'm just going to walk over to it and see how high it is. Okay, not bad, right? We said about 8-foot ceilings. Right? That's about what that feels like when you walk up to it, right? And you're standing right next to it. That's about what you feel. Okay, so 300 units will give you...
Professor?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a question. How do you add textures to the walls?
I did that a second ago with the bricks and the walls, but I'll show it again when we get to that point in this one.
Okay.
Okay? Yep, not a problem. You literally just click and drag from that materials folder and you drag it straight over to this. So just to answer your question, I mean, I'll grab the sandstone one here and I'll drop it, and all I did was clicked and dragged it over to the geometry, and you see how it added it to that wall. right?
Yes. Yes.
So we'll do the same thing with this wall. And if
Okay.
I wanted to do it to all of them, I would do it to all of them. I'm just going to do undo because I want you guys to see the geometry bricks that are in the background. This checkerboard pattern, because that's going to be important for us in just a second. All right, so the thing about the box that I've got right now is that it has surface areas on the outside, right? If I fly into the box, notice that I can see right through it, right? It's like there is no box. The reason for this is because there are no surfaces inside the geometry. And the reason for that is because that's expensive, right? For your RAM, for your computer, it has to generate everything and make that. But in this situation, we want those inside surfaces. So with the geometry selected, I'm going to then go into the details panel, and I'm going to go to brush settings, and you'll see that just underneath where we were, you're going to see hollow. And if I click hollow, all of a sudden I get a wall thickness, and then I can go inside the box, and now I have surfaces inside the box. So now I have a outside of the box, and I have a inside the box. And because it's a geometry, I can now start, like somebody asked me earlier, how do I dress up the walls? I can grab, let's put a different tile in here. Let's do wood floors. I like wood floors. So I'll drag the wood, I'll put that on the floor. So now I have wood floors. And then let's say I'm looking for a rock marble. Let's say I'm really rich and I can afford marble walls. Which is crazy. Okay, and then if we want to, we can put a different type of ceiling on there. And I won't go with marble ceilings. You know what? Why not? I'll do a concrete ceiling. How about something like that? Actually, that's the one I like, is the concrete. So anyway, so now we have an interior space and we have an exterior space. Now, the problem with this, obviously, is that if you're working with this, you want to work on the inside and you want to see how that, from a certain distance, what that looks like. And I can't because I'm seeing the outside wall, right? I have to actually go into the structure to see what's going on inside of it. So I actually have a really neat little trick that I like to do. And what I'm going to do this trick is I'm going to take this same object and I'm going to make another copy of it. So I'm going to duplicate it. So Control W, right? So I now should have two objects. And if I come here, there's object 1. Oh no, that's a different wall. So I only have one box at the moment, so maybe I didn't hit the right button. So let's hit Control W. There we go. So now we have box 1. Why is that not doing it? Oh, it's because it's inside of another box. Anyways, we do have the two boxes. They are there, and part of the reason why we're not seeing it is the trick that I'm going to show you how to do. Now, right now, both of those boxes are taking up the exact same space. So if I go to box 9 and I look at its where its settings are, where its location settings are, -162.6, -264, whatever. I'm going to go to the other box, box 2, and you can see that it has exactly the same dimensions. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select the outside, or the one of the two boxes, and I'm actually going to make the brush settings 30 units bigger than the other box. So I've selected one of the two boxes. I am going to go into the details panel, scroll down until I see brush settings, and remember that our X and our Y and our Z are all even numbers. So I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to type in 30. Then I'm going to go down to the next one. I'm going to type in 1530. I'm going to go down to the next one and I'm going to type in 3030. Now, what's going to happen with this is that when I make the top one invisible, it's going to take out the outside wall for the box that's on the inside, but not. Anyways, let me show you. Uh-oh, wait, something happened. Wall thickness. That's what's happening. So the other thing that I have is right now I made the outside box not visible, and you can see that because it looks like the box is getting smaller on the inside. So I'm going to go to the inside box, and in its details panel there's wall thickness. And remember that the wall that I made the box the bigger box 30 units bigger in each dimension. I'm going to make this 15. So the wall thickness of the one on the inside should be 15, and I think that should do it now. Oh, we're all so close. I know why. The bigger box's wall also needs to be 15. So that should be 15. So basically, you can see why it's not working. See how this box is inside that one? What I need to do is I need to get the outside of this just large enough to where it's overlapping that box. And then what'll happen is it'll feel like you can walk around the box and the wall will disappear. So let me just make this the right dimensions. So 30, 30, 30 by 15, walls 15. That's hollow. The outside box is 30 by 30 by 30, and its wall thickness is 15. Let me just thicken this. Whoa, that's way too big. Let's go and make this a 20, maybe.
I noticed that when we duplicate one of the objects or the geometry, that it shifts it over just slightly over to like the right and left.
Yeah, they're doing that on purpose, so then that way you can see the second object that you've duplicated, so you don't just duplicate a bunch of objects in the same place and then have like 100 things stacked on top of each other.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so that is being done on purpose for you. I think it's a setting. You can actually go in and change that setting. But then you can also just copy the location of the first one and then duplicate it into the location of the second one. And I know that I'm right in the middle because I can see that the border on both of these is exactly the same on both. Let me just make... That's the inside box. Oh, fun. My thing's not working. Okay. Let me just do that again. Delete, delete. How many boxes? Did I have multiple boxes? That's why. Look, I had copied and pasted way too many times, and I had an additional box in there. Because I thought I had duplicated and I didn't see it. And that's what was throwing me off. So let's delete that box. So we're back to square one. And we're going to grab box, drop it in. Oh, it comes in with concrete finish. Box, drop it in so it's by itself. So that's box 2, right? Yep. Okay. We said 1000 by 1500 by 300. There's our building. Hit N so it goes up. Now with this we will control W. I'm going to put these, so there's the original box. There's the copy of the box. The original box. Underneath brush settings, we will make it hollow. And I'm going to say that the wall thickness is 30. On the second box, we will also make it hollow, and I will make this one a wall thickness of 30. And then from there, I'm going to change the second box to 1015, 1515, and 30. No, not 3015. 3015. Whoa. Yep. 315. And fingers crossed. There it is. Do you see how when I move around, it removes the wall that's there? But those walls are actually still there. If I go into the structure, I can actually see the inside structure, and it feels like I am in all four walls. And then if, as an editor, if I walk outside with that second bigger box invisible, it basically cuts out that wall. So now I can look at it from top down, and I can do arrangement, because I can see the interior space without having with basically like cutting out the ceiling and being able to look inside. And then when I don't want this effect, I just make the outside box visible again, and now I see it like anybody playing the game would see it, right? So this is a really neat trick to being able to work on the inside of a structure or inside of inside of an object and be able to see what you're actually doing. Now, from here, let's see how much time we got. We got about 20 minutes. So let's make a door so we can actually go in here. So right now, the obvious problem is that I've got these walls, and the walls are dense, and our character has been told that they can't walk through these walls because of the default things in the game. So what I'm going to need to do is I need to cut out a door. So to cut out a door, I am going to again grab another geometry. I'm going to place that out on the floor. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to shape this into the size of the door, right? So remember that our character is 200 units high. So I might need to make the door, let's say, 225. So it's just a little bit taller. I'm going to again grab that up, hit end so it's even with the floor. And the other thing, obviously, is that a door frame is not really wide, it doesn't have a lot of width. It has a lot of width, length. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to remember that the wall thicknesses were 30, right? So I'm going to take one of these two numbers, and in this case it's going to be the y-axis, because I can see that the y-axis is this direction, and if I back this up it would be the door. So I'm going to go to my y-axis, and I'm going to make this, let's say, 50. So you can see now that instead of a square, I have something that looks more rectangular and is in the shape of a door, right? So what I want to do now is I want to take this object and I want to place it wherever I want to put my door. So if I want my door in the middle, it's going to be here. If I want my door over here on the side, that's where it's going to be. Now what I want to do is I want to make sure that a piece of this is on this side, projecting out, and then I see another piece of this, because we need this to go all the way through to punch a hole out. So now that we have it in its correct position, again in the details panel with this object selected, we are going to go in, and here underneath brush type we are going to select, instead of additive, subtractive. And look what it did. It cut a hole out for us.
Neat.
So now we can make doors. The only thing is there's obviously a difference between where this was on the outside and where this is on the inside. So depending on how you want the door hole to appear, I can go up a little bit and then align that with the floor on the inside. So now it looks clean from the outside, right? It looks like the base or the foundation is there and not like it got cut into it, right? So now we have a door. So now what we want to do is we obviously want to check this to make sure that our character can walk through that door frame. That's what I should be calling it, not a door hole, a door frame. And my character does indeed and is able to walk through. All right. Fun stuff. Okay, so hold on. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it at that for right now. We did the 2 lectures today. You got an idea of what a game is, what a video game is, a little bit of the history of the different types of video games. We finished lab 1, which was getting the game area selected. We saw how we can duplicate things and make multiple objects out of one, like the walls. We also used that to make an interior wall. We learned about our character's height and units required for to make the world look right. So our character is 200 by 200 by 50 as far as height, width, and length. And now we're using that information to build a structure, like a house, that we can decorate. And we saw this really neat thing that we can do as an editor, which is select the outside box and then make that invisible. So then that way, as you're working on the structure and we start placing things inside the structure, we can work a little bit easier without having that wall in the way and having to be really close inside to be able to work on that structure. We can see like a top-down view of it. Let me pause here to save, because we haven't done an official save yet. You would go File, Save Current. That would save the project. If you had made any new materials that weren't there before, it would ask you to save those materials. You'd get one extra box that would pop up and say, do you want to save these? You'd say yes. And at this point, you should be able to close out and have that saved. From here real quick, what we'll do is, so the creating the game area, that's this video right there. I will go ahead and make available labs, all the labs for lab 2. So what you should be doing this weekend is between now and Monday's class is go over lab 1, watch the videos, try to get to the point that we were at in class today. And if you have questions, email me. I check my email maybe once, maybe twice a day, depending on how busy I am. For those that did email me, I did respond, I think, rather quickly. Already. Remember that sending emails is going to be done through Canvas. It's going to be done through the inbox. So you would go to your Canvas, you'd go to the inbox, you'd go up here to Compose, which is up there at the top, and then you would select the course that you're in. In my case, I've named this course Fall 1306. This is on my side, this is what I've called it so I can find it. And then from there, you can select from a list of people that are in that class. I should be the only teacher, and then you would put my name, and then this would send it just to me. You'd type in whatever, and then you type in, hi Martin, blah blah blah, and these are the problems that I'm having, how do I get this fixed? And then you'd hit send, and then this email would come to me. And like I said, once or twice a day I do try to check the emails from Canvas to see if there are people that have sent me emails. So from here, let's go back to, back to the dashboard. Let's go back to our class. And it'll happen soon. It won't be right away because I loaded it to the wrong web page, so I have to download it and then re-upload it to the right YouTube page. But once I do have it in the right place, there will be a record of this class today here underneath a record of class. And what we'll try to do for Monday's class, I guess, would be finishing lab 2 and then seeing how far we can get into lab 3. Remember that for those that are concerned about, well, when's the due date and what's expected of me to turn in, we will cover that on Monday. You basically have to do a screen capture. There is no way to send me your files. They're too big. It would take too long to download, and I do too many other things with my computers to leave one computer sitting there downloading student projects, so then that way I can see your files. So the easiest way to do this would be to do a video capture and then make that available on some type of a streaming service. So YouTube OBS would be one combination, totally free. You can create a YouTube page, you can download OBS, and you can use OBS to record a video. I also do have a couple of other links which I'll make available on Monday, which is TechSmith. There is a program that used to formerly be called Jing. It's now called Capture, and it gives you up to 5 minutes of capture time in a video. So you can make a short demo video of what your level looks like, and then you would send me a link, not the actual video, because I don't want to download a 1 gig file, and you don't want to upload a 1 gig file because it takes forever. So what you want to do is send me a link to where you have uploaded your file. And with TechSmith, there is a service called, another free service called Screencast, where you can temporarily leave your videos there, and you can provide a link to somebody, and then I can go watch your video. So then that way I can see that you have completed all the things for assignment 1 or for assignment 2 and for assignment 3, or all the assignments. Now, for those that are concerned with when things are due, let's go back to home. And let's go to the syllabus, and we'll look at the calendar that's on the syllabus. And scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. And final day, all lab assignments due. So you don't have to turn in a single lab until November 1st. So that gives you the whole month of September and October to get your act together, watch the videos, complete the assignments, make your tutorial videos, upload them to your screencast or YouTube page, and then from there provide me a link and send that link to me in the inbox through the email system in Canvas. That will then allow me to be able to click on your video, view it. Now, I will create what's called a checklist for each one of the videos, so you will know exactly what you're being graded on for each one of the labs. In lab 1, there's really not anything for me to check, so I leave that as an open, you get your first 100 points for free, but I will see in what you've done with lab 2 that you did indeed create your game area, you created the walls. So that's what I mean. It's really, it doesn't make sense for you to make a video and do 30 seconds of here's my game area for lab 1. I'd rather just see it in lab 2, and then I'll check you off in lab 2 for lab 1 and lab 2, right? Because I'll see that you created the game area for lab 2 and that you built your house inside that game area. So that's how we're going to deal with that. Now, today was just like just now, that was just a very quick overview of how projects and how your labs and when labs are due. But don't be like, whoa, I have to have this done by next Monday. No, you don't. What I want you to do is get your computer ready, get Unreal Engine on it, open it up, start moving stuff around, follow the labs, and not necessarily work at your own pace, because this could be a double-edged sword, right? For some people, this is beautiful. That means that I have like 2 months to get all this stuff done. What it could be for some people is it could be a nightmare because they don't do anything until October 31st. And then you've run out of time. You really have. So it is work at your own pace. It is going to be guided labs from here until we finish lab 11. And then we'll be introducing project 1 and project 2 during that time. So this is the schedule that I would like to stick to. Obviously, we're running a little bit behind on lab 1, and I've made accommodations for that. That's why we have these purple work days right here. So if we have not finished any of these labs, I've got about a month, or I've got, let me see, about 6 classes worth of buffering between all of this. And that's why I have not made any of the assignments due until the final day, because otherwise I'm getting bombarded with nope, work at your own pace, get everything done, everything's due first week in November as far as your labs are concerned, but you definitely don't want to wait until the last week before all these things are due, because you will need a lot of this information to be able to start working on your projects. So lab 1, lab 2, all the labs are going to give you the tools and the information that you need to be able to start making your game with. So you definitely want to get through these as soon as possible, so then that way you'll be more prepared for project 1 and project 2 when you start making your own game. So at this point, I think that's all the information that I have for you. Like I said, links will be provided for lab 2 up here individually so that you can see them. But remember that you can click on the first lab that I have here. All these are on the same YouTube page. So you go and you watch the first video. You can go to Green Room Games, select the title. There is lab 2. So here's all the 4 videos in a playlist for Lab 1. Here's Lab 2 in a playlist with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 videos, anywhere in average of 8 minutes to 30 minutes in length. There's a 41-minute one. I try to keep them less than 30 minutes because people do get bored. And there you can see there's the same thing we just built in the video for the starting of Lab 2. And Lab 2 would be getting used to the geometries and showing you how to build that building that we did today, where you can make the outside wall disappear so you can work inside of it. That's all that one is. Lab 2 is creating the second floor, which is where we were going to get to if we had enough time today, creating the staircase, creating glass. So I would, if you get through all of Lab 1 and you feel like you want to do more, watch the videos for Lab 2 prior to Monday's class, see how much of that you can do on your own, and then we'll cover it in class together as a class on Monday. And this will be primarily what we're doing on Monday, is just covering the rest of Lab 2, and then we'll try to jump from this to Lab 3. We'll try to see how much of it we can get done. So that's it for the class. You guys have a wonderful weekend. It's been an absolute pleasure. And if you have any questions, I'll stay for about 30 minutes, but I do have an appointment that I have to be at by 5 o'clock. And so I'd have to cut it after 30 minutes. So you're welcome to leave at this time if you'd like. If you have any questions for me, please stay, ask the questions. I'll be here for about 30 minutes after class. So you guys have a great weekend, and try to go through Lab 1, Lab 2 on the videos, get Unreal Engine downloaded on your computer, and see how much of Lab 1 and Lab 2 you can get through. All right, guys, take care.
All right. Thank you.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful weekend.
I do have a question, Professor.
Sure, go ahead.
I know you taught it on Monday, but I've forgotten how to make a geometry into a static mesh. Could you share that again?
Absolutely. Let me switch screens here. Oh, right. I think I knocked Unreal out. Let me reopen it real quick.
All right.
But basically, so it just off of memory, right? So if you're on the geometry and you have it selected and you go into the details panel, you're going to scroll down until you see brush settings, and then at the very bottom, before you see the next heading title, you'll see what looks like a little square with like a little triangle that's pointing down. Click on that little triangle and it should open up a collapsed menu. And
okay, I see it.
Yeah, it says convert to geometry. Then what's going to do is it's going to ask you where do you want to save it, because you are creating a new element in the game and it needs to save that somewhere as a, it needs to save that file on the computer. So it'll prompt you to save it somewhere. You should save it with the rest of your project though.
Yeah, I'm not going to save it in like a game.
No,
like
and actually,
file or anything.
Yeah, and actually, what I had recommended was to create a folder called A_my_stuff. And,
yeah, I did that.
Okay,
well,
fantastic.
Not that direct title, but
something similar.
So,
I like putting the A at the front, so then that way it's always at the top of the list, and then underscore whatever you want to call it.
Oh, that's why you did. I was wondering why there was an A.
Yeah, the A is okay. So one of my jobs before in the past was working for ADV Films. So for those that are into anime, you may have heard of ADV Films. They actually went defunct. They went bankrupt probably about 10 years ago. But they a lot of our titles actually got bought by Funimation, and a lot of our voice artists actually went to Dallas for Funimation. So if you watch Cartoon Network, you actually are watching some of the titles that I worked on when I was at ADV Films. But back to the point, my job at ADV Films was I was quality control, and I was also in head of the organization of the library, the media library. And for us, the media library was not a server, it was actually a room, and that room had a bunch of hard drives in it, and those hard drives were external hard drives that we would put into a shuttle and put that into the computers to be able to get the information off of, and those had to be put back at the end of the day. So I had to find the box that all the hard drives went into and then put the hard drives into the box that they corresponded with. But my point being is that I learned a lot about organization and file naming through ADV Films, and because they literally had thousands of titles. And there could be, depending on how many episodes there were and how many seasons there were, that could be half a shelf. It could be a small box, and I would have to go in and go find them. But yeah, you would see a lot of people do things like that. So then that
Just
way,
for more convenience. Yeah.
oh my God, yeah. And we actually had a naming convention. We would have the first 3 letters of whatever would be the name of the game. So like, let's say it was a title like Air Gear, right? Have you guys ever seen that anime called Air Gear? So that
I don't
used to
watch
be-
much.
Okay, so my job, I used to get paid. I used to get paid to watch anime. That was my job, quality control. We would
watch. What was the name of the show?
Air Gear.
Yeah, I heard of Edgar.
Yeah, so I worked on that. And worked on it in meaning that what we did at ADV Films was we would take titles from NHK or Tokyo somethings, Tokyo TV, and we would buy anime series from them, and they would be coming in Japanese or in Korean, and we would have to translate that into English, and then from there we would have to match the flaps, and then we would have to get an actor to record the English version of it, and then we would send that to our audio department, which would then marry the words with everything. And then we had a video department that would create the new trailers, the new whatever we needed for, because I think at the time ADV Films also had a TV station, or there was a satellite TV station that we were, so if you had the right provider, you could actually get, it would have been called ADV TV as one of these, as one of your channels. But anyways, yeah, so the first 3 letters were the name of the series or the name of the show. So Air Gear would have been AGR. And then the next thing that you would see would be what season it was, S1, S2, S3, S4. And then you would see EP1, EP2, EP3, EP4, where episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, or episode 4, however many there was. And then you would actually see, when that's what I would use to put everything back. But if you went into the file structure that was on that hard drive, you would actually see further, like audio, because we were recording audio. So we would have the name of the character. So we would have an abbreviation for the name of the character. So if it was the character's name was Akira, it would be AKR, and then line, and then the number of the line. And so then that way, literally, if a project fell apart or if you had a major problem with your servers, you can go back to those hard drives that were not connected to the servers and rebuild your project from everything. And you didn't have like 1,000 empty lines that was like line 1, line 2, audio file 1, audio file 2, audio file 3, audio file 4, audio file 5, which means nothing. So somebody would literally have to then go through. So we did it all on the front side instead of the back side. But yeah, no. Naming became like I got really good at naming stuff.
Well, good to know. I might start doing that myself.
It makes stuff just so much easier to find later. And then also remember that you do have a search option up there in your world outliner. So if you name things correctly, you can say
you can find it very easy.
So much faster than box 1, box 2, box 3, box 4, where you might have like 5,000 boxes.
To do that.
Yeah,
I name my boxes for the house: box, outside box, inside box, house.
Yeah, that's what I was about to do.
And there are folders, so there is a way to be able to create folders. If you look in that top right-hand corner up there, you will actually see a folder option, and you can actually create a new folder. Yep.
So I can make a house folder and an outside folder.
Exactly. And when you do that, whatever one you have selected, it's going to drop it underneath that one. So make sure you're not here when you're trying to make a new box, or it's going to drop it into that folder. Always go to the root directory up at the very top. So yeah, that's the root directory. And then from there, that's where with that one selected, that's where I would create my new folder.
Well, thank you for that information. I'm going to add that on.
Yeah, because organization is king. I mean, eventually you're going to end up with a level that might have literally 1,000+ elements in it, and finding stuff.
Because this is the Wrench computer, there's not many files to really get mixed up anyways, but It's always better to be more organized.
inside the project. I mean, you start importing stuff, packs, and your world. Every time you put something into the world outliner inside the game, or create a, like you just did, which or somebody just did, the geometry to a thing, that has to be stored in the world outliner. So then that way there's a record of it. So that list, this list over here on the side, this thing starts getting really big.
Also, I have another question.
Sure,
I don't mean to
absolutely.
monopolize your time from anyone else.
No, go
needs to
ahead.
ask. Are we allowed to use the marketplace to find different materials for
Yes.
this
Yes.
house?
I was actually that was, well, we're going to get into that on Monday. But yeah, you can start downloading packs. The only thing with downloading packs is make sure that they work with the version of the software that you've got. And they will tell you, like the pack, when you go to it, it'll say works with version 2.24 through 2.27 or whatever versions the pack was made for. So just when you download, make sure you are
I
downloading
did
packs.
2.6 because you said not to do the latest one because
Yeah.
some
Some of the
might not
packs
work
may
with
not
it.
work. Yeah, I was actually surprised because the last time I taught this class, which was this year in the spring, it was 2.24, 2.25, and 2.26 was already out when I went to it, and then 2.27 came out that Monday. I was like, oh wow, they're really burning through some stuff, through some versions.
I have a question.
Sure.
With a comment, like in the intro to Unreal Engine, lab 1, those videos can also show the same things of this stream,
Yes.
the other two streams, right?
Yes,
This and the other.
absolutely.
So because for me watching to watch this the stream recording will be too long, so I can also use the lab video. And
Yeah,
YouTube.
the idea of the lab is the reason why I put the YouTube lab videos together is, for example, where are they? Here, right? So this is my YouTube page, and if you go there, you go to, let's say, lab 1, and you see that instead of having to watch an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours of what the class was, you can just watch an 11-minute video that shows you how to download it. So these are streamlined. That's what I mean by my YouTube videos. Is they're a streamlined, first do this, then do this. So the YouTube videos are instructional, where the videos that we're making for the class is more or less a record of the class. So then that way, if somebody missed the class, and I'm talking about when to turn something in, they can go and watch that. But if they need to find out how to make a house, like what we're doing now, the easier thing would be obviously to go to Green Room Games, click here, and look right here underneath Lab 2. It says creating interior spaces using geometries. That's exactly what we did in class today.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. They're there as a resource for you. So then that way you don't have to watch 3.5-hour videos, because that's the thing that I hate. I hate watching a 3-hour video to find that 1 minute of information that I actually needed.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
here
that
is
way you don't have to hear us coughing and snorting or making weird noises in there.
Yeah, you're getting the condensed version in the YouTube videos.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, because I haven't tried to follow because I need to do other stuff. For example, like mess with the Unreal Engine problem. And my focus gets distracted from the stream, from the Unreal Engine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can do it in both places. Like the idea of the class is for you to be able to ask questions, and for me to be able to go over it once as a class, and then for you to be able to interact with your students, and that we have a class environment. I'm making a record of that, so then that way you can go back and see maybe something that you couldn't because you were involved in another class, or you got distracted, or you had to get up and go make a sandwich because you were too hungry, and then you sat down. You're like, oh man, I missed that part. Where was it in the video? What time is it? Oh, it was 2.5 minutes or 2.5 hours into the class. Once Martin puts the video up there, I'm just going to zoom to 2.5 hours into the class and pick up the class from there, so I can see the part that I missed.
Yeah.
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 It's all
That's a
meant to
big
be
mess.
helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. Anybody else have a question?
Yes, Mr.
You can just
Yeah,
call me
what-
Martin.
Yeah, I tried to figure out how to download Unreal Engine.
Okay.
'Cause I wanted to, so be able to use it for LabWorks.
Right. So because we're online as opposed to being in class, what you're going to have to do is you're going to, well, actually from from our page, where's our page? So right here on the canvas, I have left a link to Epic Games webpage. If you click on that, it should then take you, there's a link provided, you click there, and that will take you to Epic Games. Epic Games is the company that makes Unreal Engine. And then from here, what you would do is you see how you have store, and you'd go to Unreal Engine. Now, the download button is over here on the top right-hand side. When you download that, you're not actually downloading Unreal Engine. What you're downloading is what's called the Epic Game Launcher, which is this thing. Okay. So once you make that download, you'll see this. If you double-click on that, it is a version of their website, everything that was on the website, but in a piece of software, like an app that you've downloaded. Now from there, you would go to Library, and if you don't have a engine on your computer, this area will be blank. And what you will do is you will go to Engine Version and hit plus, and when you do that, you'll see a blank one, which is what this one is. And depending on what version you want, you can click on the number and scroll down and get anywhere from 4.0 all the way up to 4.27, which is the latest version. Now, my recommendation for the version that you should download is 4.25 or 4.26. Normally, I would say download the same version of the one that we have at school. So then that way, when you move projects between school and home, it's fluid. But since we don't have school and we don't know what's actually in the classroom, my recommendation falls to the videos that I have made, those YouTube videos, were made in 4.25. So if you download 4.25 and you watch my YouTube videos, they will look identical because they're made in the same version. Now, as far as what I suspect is in the classroom is 4.26, because they've had a whole 3-4 months of 4.26 already out, that's what should be in the classroom. And 4.27 came out 1 or 2 days prior to class starting. So it is the latest version that is out. And the problem is that at some point you might want to add a library to this, and when you add a library, let's see if I can click in, see here where it's actually telling me that this library is only supported from 4.19 to 4.26. So if I had downloaded 4.27, I would not be able to use this pack.
Wow.
Okay, so my recommendation is 4.25 or 4.26 for downloading. And then once you've done that, you'll see that this thing will then fill in, and then from there you can either launch it from here, or at that point it should have made a desktop icon that looks like this. And then to check that one, you can always right click on it, go to Properties, and then you can look at the name of it, and so you can see that this link, or the version of the Unreal Engine that I have on this computer is 4.25. But you can have multiple versions. So on my other computer,
because I'm directly on Unreal Engine's website right now, so that's why I asked you.
Oh yeah, no, I'm going into additional information just in case you needed it. But yeah, it would be from their website, and then you download the Epic Games Launcher, and then from the launcher you can download Unreal Engine.
Make sure you create an account first with them.
Yeah, that's always a good idea too.
Oh, create an account with them, because the reason I didn't want to create an account is because I'm not a huge fan of Fortnite. I hate Fortnite with a passion.
Yeah, the thing is that account is actually where, okay, so when you download a pack, that pack isn't actually put on your computer. That pack is put as something that you can download with your account. So because I have an account with Unreal Engine, I have the launcher, and then that launcher I have the vault. What the vault is like that pack that I just showed you. I either purchased it or it was available for free at one point from the Unreal Engine, and they do make a lot of things. So when you go to Marketplace, click on Market. Sorry, my internet must be slow because I'm running OBS and Unreal and everything from this computer. And you go to free.
Yeah.
So Marketplace free. You'll actually see all of these packs are available for free. So you can see that like a tank. So they have a couple of vehicles. They have a boat. Let's keep going. Let's see what other things. They have rock materials. So a lot of extra stuff, way more than what was available in the starter pack. And the other cool thing is that you can also filter this. So you can actually, like, let's say I'm looking for specifically environments. So rural Australia, things that you might find there. Things that you might find, I don't even know what that, like in a treasure chest or in a treasure room. Things that you might find, this looks slightly Middle Eastern. I don't know what that is. I can't tell, it's too small. That looks like a modern street corner somewhere in like 1950s USA. Here's a wintry scene. So, ooh. Oh, well, I already have those background. And you can see that all the ones, and you see how some of them say free, which means that I have not downloaded them, and then some of them say owned, which means that I've already made them part of my vault. Now, the cool thing about the vault is that if I had all these things on my computer, I would need like 20 terabytes to hold all this information.
Wow.
But instead of doing that, what it is it's on the cloud, on their servers, and then when I need one of these packs, I make it available to the project that I'm working in, and then it downloads it from the vault to my physical hard drive on my computer. And then I have access to it because I'm not, I don't have to worry about internet speed or all that other stuff. It's actually on my computer. And so these things now become project specific instead of just sitting there on your computer taking up space. But we'll talk more about this on Monday. This is actually stuff that we're going to start talking about on Monday. But yeah, you definitely want to have an account, and you definitely want to go to Epic Games. And I'm with you on Fortnite. It's okay. It's not my, it's just a shooter game with a time limit.
Not only that, I just don't like it that the first time I played it, I got sniped, and the only thing I was wielding was a hammer.
Yeah, I think the reason why people like Fortnite is because it's not pay for play, so there is no the more you pay for something.
And I also visited on the Ariana Grande concert recently. She performed on Fortnite.
Really? Yeah. They're starting to make it something more than what it was, which is interesting. I mean, we'll see where it progresses. I mean, everything is so many new things are happening. You know what I mean? With the social media, with internet conductivity, with more people being online, with people having faster machines and computers. There's a lot of stuff that's starting to open up. So yeah, there's definitely weird stuff happening. But yes, I'm not a big Fortnite person.
Yeah, I'm kind of medium on Warzone. Warzone is good. Call of Duty Warzone is good.
Yeah. Oh, that was the game my brother would play, is Call of Duty. When that would come out, when is it, like September, October when it's released? He'd like disappear for a month.
Like Warzone. Even Vanguard. Vanguard is the latest. It's going to come out this November.
Yeah. And again, I'm not a big first-person shooter. You know what I like? I like strategy games, and I like gear building, character building games. So, for example, Marvel Strike Force or Raids Legend or Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes.
Marvel, I forgot the name. Realm of Champions. That's what I have on my phone.
Yeah, something.
I like reading all that stuff.
And I like it because you get to geek out on like for example, I'm doing the Star Wars version of that gameplay, and I've learned so much about characters that I didn't even know existed.
Oh, you mean the Battlefront 1 and 2?
Well, no, Battlefront is like you're playing a character. Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes is a raid-based, like Raid Legends.
Yeah.
Or Marvel Strike Force, where you're team building and gear building. It's like basically just the biggest gear grind you've ever had, but it's fun. Because for me, it's Star Wars, and it's something that I grew up with, and so I enjoy learning about the characters, doing research on the game, learning about the relationship between the characters and a lot of this stuff, which is weird because some of it comes from other games. You know what I mean? Like what you just talked about, the Battlefronts. Some of those go into different epochs in Star Wars history, and you start to see different characters and relationships and how certain things led to where we were when we see it in A New Hope.
Yeah, New Hope, all the way up to Return of the Jedi, straight from the prequel trilogy, then the sequel trilogy, straight from the Force Awakens all the way up to Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, so with this game, they do everything. They do Knights of the Old Republic era. They're doing all the epochs that I know of so far have been represented in Star Wars, because they always need to come up with a new character. So that means they need to keep going into, because you need to keep grinding the years. But anyways, okay. So any other questions then?
I have so many questions about gaming, because I'm a gamer. I'm also planning to. I'm also a content creator. I live stream on Twitch as well.
Okay.
I'm really struggling to, earn money through that, but not entirely, because I know I just want to have fun mostly.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, the definitely not a broadcasting class, but if you do broadcast on Twitch and you are trying to do that, the idea there would be to try to make an entertaining show. And really what that's about is really mastering your OBS. And being able to, like, for example, I have in front of me, I'm running OBS. I have a wireless mic that's connected to an ASIO sound card, which is how I'm bringing in that's why my audio sounds so clean. I'm using the cartoon character Cat. There I am, which then makes the whole thing a little bit funner. Because I'm like waving at you, yeah.
I know sometimes I cosplay on my stream, because recently I cosplay as Spider-Man Miles Morales, and I played Spider-Man Miles Morales.
So there you go.
On the PS5.
And the whole thing is making it interactive. I know that there's other platforms that are starting to also come up, like DLive is another one that's getting really big.
Facebook Gaming.
So maybe you go, and instead of trying to be on Twitch, where they've already kind of cornered the market because Twitch is an older platform, you go and find a newer platform, and you become the big fish in the little pond. And then as that platform gets bigger, you're one of the original guys.
I'm struggling with Facebook Gaming as well, because I don't know how to do it on the console, because I only see mostly YouTube and Twitch.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people. They're doing that there because those are the bigger audiences. YouTube obviously being the biggest audience, and Twitch being a niche market for gamers. But for example, I'll tell you, like myself, I'm a music producer as well, and so when I put music out there, YouTube's the big one, but you also have Mixer.com. You also have Mixcloud and SoundCloud, which are already pretty big. But there are different environments that I could put it on Spotify. So you just have to find what works for you and what's the best platform, and then just be consistent and be entertaining if that's what you're going for, because that's what's going to keep an audience and grow your audience.
Okay.
And then I can give you
152 views, and I have like 26 followers.
Yeah, and I can tell you that when I started because I used to, my broadcasting wasn't necessarily about playing games. My broadcasting was my DJing. So I was, we broadcast different artists, myself. We were trying to put a show together, and that was rough, dude. YouTube's a rough audience, and I will tell you right now that with all the politics and YouTube being up, like right now, not to get into politics, but I know Donald Trump is right now suing YouTube to reinstate his account on Twitter and on YouTube and that sort of stuff. Politics aside, I don't care what side you're on. I'm just using it as a point of reference, right? That
on nobody's side.
Yeah, no. Well, I know some people are like, "Ooh, politics. Let me jump in." But what's actually happening is you have a high-profile person that had a lot of followers who was kicked off the platform that's now trying to get reinstated, and so the rules, the algorithm, everything is screwed up on YouTube and on the major platforms because they're trying to hide certain groups of people from being able to broadcast or find bigger audiences. So right now, that's why I'm saying, if you can find a new platform like DLive or Telegram or anything that's new and you can put yourself on there, and the algorithm is still fresh, where they haven't gone in and tinkered with it too much to throw this out or throw that out. Because what will happen on YouTube is you say a certain phrase, and then all of a sudden your video is banned. And what you said wasn't what you meant, and it wasn't even related to why they censored you. You're talking
And
about.
It happened to me for the first time. I got banned on Twitch because I see the word. I'm going to hit the sack.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, there's so much weird stuff happening with their algorithms right now that I would go and find a new platform and try to be the big fish in a little pond before they start messing that one up. So DLive's a good place. I know BitChute is another place that you can. I don't know if BitChute lets you live broadcast. I know DLive lets you live broadcast. I think BitChute is just video, like you can upload a video but not live broadcast. But anyways, yeah.
I didn't know about DLive. Thanks for the.
Oh yeah, no, DLive's a big one. That's
good. That, like you said, it's being a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
It's better to start there than like Twitch. You have to really, really fight for attention.
I mean, you see, the thing with the problem with Twitch is that you already have a built-in audience, and they've already pretty much maxed themselves out. Like whatever Twitch is going to be, Twitch is right now. You know what I mean? Yeah. And unless they start doing a lot of R&D and making the platform bigger or better, it's going to stay the size that it is. And so you only have so many people that are going to Twitch, and only so many. There was actually a really interesting website for people that are doing broadcasting, and I forget what it is. I'll try to go find it. But what it did was it showed you when that platform was the most active. Like how many people were broadcasting and at what times they were broadcasting. And so what you could do is you could then plot your broadcast around times, around non-peak times that other people were not broadcasting. So imagine that peak broadcast time would be Fridays and Saturdays from 7 to 12 o'clock, right? And so you would go and you would make your broadcast on a Wednesday at 3 o'clock. And there'd be nobody on, there would just be nobody, no other content provider broadcasting at that time. So if you were somebody on Twitch that's like I don't want to call you like Twitch addict, right? You would just go and find whatever the next live stream was that was open. And so that was a way a way to be able to try to get your broadcast in and maybe get some extra viewership, because there was literally no other content providers broadcasting at that time. So there are ways. I mean, you can build an audience on those platforms. It's just you're going to have to broadcast at weird times, and you're going to have to do weird stuff on your broadcast, or be a little provocative at first or whatever, just to catch eyeballs. And then once you start building an audience, once you build it, they will come, right? Sort of thing where, oh, this guy's got 200 people on watching his broadcast. I wonder why. And then that person, the new person clicks on. But until you get that critical mass, it's really weird. You have to broadcast at weird times or do weird stuff with your broadcast.
And you always have to at least acting like there's someone watching. Don't just be silent the whole time. That's one of the secrets to it.
Yeah, you definitely need to be just talking, because people get bored with just watching it. Yeah. So yeah, and I would say that another big thing would be too, if you could get an additional person on your broadcast, like you have yourself as the host and then a co-host, and then that way there's always somebody to bounce ideas off of, or somebody can talk when you're not talking. For example, if you watch if you watch most TV shows, most talk radio, it's not just one person. It's political talk radio, yes, but they always have a guest that comes on. They always have somebody else that comes on. So there's always somebody that they're interacting with, and it's not just one person giving a monologue. It's two people having a conversation, right? And so that's a lot more interesting to the ear and to the brain than just one person giving a monologue. So if you can find a way to invite somebody else into your broadcast, like let's say you do an OBS, and from that like for example, you know what? I'll just do this. I'll show you guys this. For example, this is my OBS, and inside my OBS,
wow,
I have, these are the different video feeds, but if I right click and I say add, and I go in and I go video capture device, I literally have, okay, so we'll click OK, and That's how many video cards I have, video capture cards I have plugged into this computer. So
Wow.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 video cards. That means that I can bring in source. I basically have a small switching console. OBS has now become a small switching console. And just to give you an example. Test camera 1. There we go. So I can have.
Gag.
Oh, so that's what that was. So that thing dragged all the way down to the bottom. Okay, so that would be that thing coming in the bottom right-hand corner is a large full version of my cat. It's just misaligned right now because I was in the wrong screen for a second. And then
background.
There's that guy. That's a video feed. That's switching between screen 1, which is this computer, versus my MSI computer. And then I also have 2 videos running in the background, video 1 and video 2, that I use as a background when I'm starting my broadcast.
I remember this.
You know what I mean? And then I can run my cat on top of that. And at any point, any of my feeds, I
think you created that couch gag. I don't know.
This is actually Adobe Character Animator. So if you have the Adobe,
it's a great program, and it comes with the Adobe Creative Cloud.
Yeah. And because you guys are students, you'd get a discount off of your Adobe.
I can't believe it was you that created it. I didn't even know.
No, this is a template. I mean, okay. I could go in there and create my own character if I wanted to.
Oh, no, I meant the couch gag. I thought you're the one that created it. I watched this several times. I wonder who made this.
Adobe. Adobe. But yeah, that's the cat. But yeah, I'm using OBS. I'm using a Stream Deck. The Stream Decks are what's just buttons that I can push.
I have my own intro. My own intro would have been so anime like that. I'm just coming from, let's say, from ACC. Then on my way, there's a Titan. I just sliced many armies of Titans just to get to my apartment, and then I like grab my headphones, grab my controller, turn on my PS.
Yep. Yeah, no, you can have, and I've seen a lot of different systems. There are broadcasting platforms that you can actually go and buy. So there's like a rod that stays in the middle. It puts a camera in front of you. The microphone attaches to that camera that has a USB that goes in. Guitar Center sells mixers that are meant to be capture devices. So basically you just have to trick OBS into thinking that it's a camera feed or an audio feed, and then you can bring anything in. So at that point it would be, going in here, going down to, oh wait, you guys can't see this. Not that one, this one. And then right clicking down here, adding, and then ASI. So I'm using an ASIO sound card, which is why I have ASIO capture. And I also had to add a plugin to OBS to get that to work. But by default, audio capture, video capture, and screen capture are the big ones that I'm using. That's how I'm getting all my video and audio in.
Okay.
But I'm also sitting in front of probably about $150,000 worth of equipment.
Oh my gosh.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 computers. To get this thing working, I have 1, 2, 3 computers with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screens on, and a wireless mic and an ASIO sound card.
Oh, I mean, I'm just trying to be a little bit cheap and low budgeted because
You
I'm
can
using
start
a
wherever you
PS.
want. I started. I mean, you can do this with a laptop. I mean, you can start a broadcast web stream with a laptop as long as your laptop's powerful enough to be
I
able to
know.
run several software at
Yeah,
the same
I know.
time.
I started with a console and I have a cam that for it
Hmm.
that's compatible with it, and I have a Turtle Beach headset. I have like two of them, one for me to use on a computer, the other for me to use for the console.
Hmm.
That's how it is.
Yep. I mean, you'll build the system the way you need to. The idea and the reason why I built this one for broadcasting was I can actually have 2 people in studio with me. So 2 people, 2 other additional bodies in this room, and they can also be animated characters. And I actually have a preset for that in my OBS where I have like a split screen where you can see all 3 of us. And the other additional computers were added so then that way I could bring in people from Zoom calls. So now that everybody's on Zoom and everybody's pretty much acclimated to online learning, and everybody has the ability, you know, everybody's been forced at one point or another to be part of a video conference call on your computer. Everybody has Zoom, so I just have people, I can actually have it to where off one computer would be their character, right? So they would log into a Zoom call from their computer from a laptop, and based on the camera, that would then move their character, and their voice coming in would move the character, and then they can remote access with another computer. So they would have to have. So far, I've only been able to get it off of 2 laptops. I haven't been able to compress it down to 1. But whoever the other person is, they can actually become part of the show, have a character, and join in with their own computer that they can remote access to from wherever it is that they are. So the idea was I could host a show which has to do with music broadcasting or music creation, and then whoever my guest was, they could also do a jam session with me in real time from their laptop, but they're remote accessing into mine, so then that way everything stayed on time and we didn't have to worry about internet lag, because the 2 computers running the audio software or the DAWs would have been in the same room together. So anyways, I put a lot of thought into this. I've really like hashed this thing out and made it like a monster.
Yeah, I know. I
More
just put a
than
lot of
more
thought
than the
and did
normal
some
broadcast.
research. That's what I did.
Yeah, because the normal setup for most people, if you're doing a Twitch screen, is you have your broadcast computer and then you have your gaming computer. Your gaming computer is what you're playing the game on. You send the HDMI out of that into a single capture card. That capture card goes into the broadcast computer, and then that broadcast computer is capturing your voice and video, right? So one computer to play your game, HDMI connected to the other computer in a capture card, and that computer has your OBS. And that's where you're broadcasting from. So then that way you have 2 computers, one playing your game, one doing your broadcast, and you're not dragging down. You're not taking up bandwidth. You're not, the gaming computer has full power to run the game, and your OBS has full power on that computer to run the OBS and your broadcast. So you split. That's the normal setup for most people that are doing broadcasting online through Twitch.
Okay. I'm trying to take some notes against next class.
Yeah. If you want, we'll talk about it again. But do a lookup. Look up OBS 2 computer setup for broadcasting on Twitch.
Because I know I have Streamlabs.
Yeah, and that would be what you would put. See, the thing is that you have a single computer and you're trying to run OBS and play your game at the same time. It's not going to work. And the reason why is because you have to show. You can use your webcam to show you, and you can put your picture down there at the bottom, but the second you need to do something in OBS or you need to change a setting, you need to bring that up, and then that's going to be what other people are going to be able to see. The reason why you can't see, I'm able to do something like this is because I have a 4-screen setup. I have a video card that has 4 HDMI outputs. To give you an idea, let me right-click, go to Display Settings, and see I have 1, 2, 3, 4 video outputs. Video channel 1 or video stream 1 is this.
Oh, you
what
have
you're
like
seeing.
a multi-screen, right?
Yeah, yeah, but that's happening because I have multiple outputs. I have an HDMI card, an HDMI video card that has 4 outputs on it. Your laptop will allow you to be able to do a split screen. You can run 2 screens, but then you would have to have a second screen connected to your laptop for you to be able to do the off-screen stuff, like I can drag something off-screen and then bring it on screen. So your OBS would be running on the second screen that's not being broadcast, and then the first screen would be what your viewers see. If you were going to do it from a single laptop. Okay, any questions about the I know we've gone into this whole OBS detour, but I just want to make sure that anybody who's still remaining has, some people just stay to listen, but some people do have questions, so I want to make sure that I hit any questions about either the class or Unreal Engine before my time runs out, because I do have an appointment at 5 o'clock that I need to get to.
I think somebody keeps having errors. James Chuckle in the chat.
Okay, let me look at the chat. Let me pull this window over. Okay, so this is the area. Failed load. Could you to create file missing or invalid cyberpunk?
Yeah.
Wow, why are you having a cyberpunk error? Ran out of disk space during installation.
Yeah, I'll see you next class, Mr. Hanson.
Absolutely. We will see you on Monday, sir. Let me see. Who was that? James. James, are you still here? If you want to, let me ask you to unmute.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. So here's the thing. Without doing any research, I don't know exactly what any of those messages mean, other than the only one that I read that made sense was you ran out of disk space when you're doing your installation. Remember that Unreal Engine takes somewhere between 15 to 20 gigs of hard drive space when you're installing it. So what may have happened is whatever hard drive you put the Unreal Engine to install on just doesn't have enough space on it. The way that you can check is if you go to the task manager down here at the bottom, or your toolbar down there at the bottom, you'll see something that looks like a little folder. If you right click on it and say File Explorer, that should then open up a window that looks like this, and there you will see a directory on your left hand side that shows this PC. If you click on this PC, it will then give you a list of all the hard drives or all the drives that are available on this computer. So for example, this computer has 5 additional hard drives. And then from there, you need to check to see how much free available space you have on on that hard drive. So if that blue is all the way up here, then it ran out of space and it can't continue to do the installation because you don't have enough space on that hard drive. You may need to pick another hard drive. Is that what your situation is? Can you check and see what your hard drive looks like and how much space you might still have available on it?
Yes, I'm going to check right now.
Okay, fantastic.
Oh, no.
Is it more blue than clear?
It's more blue, but almost close to the
tippy part, right? So yes. if you hover your mouse over it, you will actually see, it will tell you exactly how much free space you have. So if you're seeing anything less than 20 GB as free space, you probably don't have enough space on that hard drive. And the thing is that the computer, when it gets close to the end of the hard drive space, it starts acting really weird. because and your computer will slow down because the computer will actually use your hard drives as temporary memory to store things while it's doing rendering and things like that. So you'll find that everything seems to like if you got 5 gigs left on your hard drive, you'll find that your computer starts slowing down, especially when you start opening or closing too many apps on your computer. But yeah, does it tell you how much space you got left?
Let's see.
You're looking at this right here, right? You're looking at something like a window that looks like this.
I'm sorry.
Are you looking at a window? Okay. Just hover your mouse over the one that says local C drive. You will see a small box that pops up, and it will say free space on the first line, and then tell you how much space you got left. How much space you got left?
So just right click, right?
No, I don't even have to right click, bro. I'm just like hovering over it. See how when I hover over it, that box appears?
Mm-hmm.
So does it tell you? It should also say like just underneath there, right? You see the words that are underneath the blue bar? It says 1.3 TB free of.
Okay, yeah, I see. It says 34.0 GB free of 224 GB.
You're out of space.
Yes.
Yep. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to. Are you on a laptop or a desktop?
I have my laptop.
Okay. So if you have a laptop and you have a USB 3 port that's on your laptop, what I would do is buy an external hard drive. Because in any class that you're in, 3 gigs is not going to be enough for anything. So that, or you need to go through your hard drive and free up some space. Throw some things away that you're not using, remove some programs that maybe you're not using, and then try to see how much space you can clear up. But in this class, you're going to need probably anywhere from 50 to 100 gigs of space. Just to do the packs, to have your projects, to store and render all your files. And if you have more than just my class, then you're going to definitely need more space to work on other projects for those classes. So I would recommend at least a 500 gig solid state drive.
500 what?
At least, okay, so I did make recommendations. So if you go back to Canvas, just go back to nope, that's YouTube. Let's go back to Canvas.
If you have like any games installed, uninstall them. They take up a lot of space sometimes.
Yes, they do.
Oh no, I didn't download any games.
I think what we're dealing with here is that his C drive was 100. You said 120 gigs total, and you have 3 gigs left of 120 gigs total. So you started off with a smaller hard drive. So for example, like right here, right at the very top, I have computer recommendations. And if you click on that, this is what the bare minimum requirements are from Unreal to run Unreal Engine on a PC computer. And you'll see that they're telling you that they want at least 250 gigs hard drive to be able to run it. Now I can tell you that the download is going to be 20 gigs, so 20 GB of space that you need to be able to run the download. So if you've only got 3, you've got well under what you need to be able to load the project. So this is my recommendation, minimum recommendations, which would be the second one. So I leave a 500 GB SSD internal hard drive or external. And then the 2 ones down here are what I'm actually running currently. So when I flip over to my laptop has a terabyte 1 TB internal hard drive, and I'm running a separate 1 terabyte external SSD. So I have over 2 terabytes of space on my laptop. And on this one, I didn't actually, on my desktop, I didn't write, there is actually 4 1 terabyte hard drives. So I have over 4 terabytes of SSD space on my desktop, which is what I'm working off of right now, which the videos that you're seeing. And I have 1 additional 500 gig SSD internal on this one. So I'm running something like 7 terabytes, no. Yeah, like 6.5 terabytes between 2 computers to store my projects.
Okay.
So when you go, if you can, like I said, it doesn't need to be immediate, but if you want to start working in the software, you either need to clear up space on your computer or you need to buy an additional hard drive and then move some stuff over to that hard drive so that you can put Unreal Engine on your C drive. Or install it on the C drive, which is by default where it wants to go, but it just doesn't have enough space.
So, does Best Buy has one?
Yeah, I mean Target, Walmart will have hard drives. If you go to a big enough Walmart, you go to that section in the back where all the TVs and stuff are, and all the video game stuff is, they should have hard drives there. Same thing with Walmart or Target. Best Buy definitely, and my favorite place to go would be Micro Center. If you live close to the West Loop campus, which is where class would be taught from, if we were in a physical class, it'd be at the West Loop campus. The Micro Center is literally on the other side of the freeway from us. So it'd be, I think it's South Rice and 59. You don't have to go there. That's just, it's like a computer, like the computer megastore now that there are no Fry's left in Houston. So that's where I would go. But you can go anywhere that has, you can order them online. I mean, shoot, you can go to Amazon and type in, external USB hard drive, 1 terabyte, 500 gigs, and then purchase them online and have them shipped to you.
Well, Professor, this is the thing. I'm almost close to Walmart and Best Buy.
Fantastic. So Walmart, I would go in there, go to their technology section, see if they have external hard drives. And what was the other place?
Wait, internal hard drive, not external, right?
The hard drives are the same. The only thing that happens with an external hard drive is that it puts the hard drive in a box and leaves that outside the computer. Okay. Otherwise, if I opened up an internal or an external hard drive, they would be identical.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. So what you're looking for, the better thing to think about would be the size of the hard drive that you need, how much space, 500, 250, 1 terabyte, 750, the space that it has, and then the fact that it is a SSD, so stands for solid state drive, SSD. And then from there, that it runs at 3.0. So it should say USB 3.0. So then that way you're running at a fast speed. So the size of the hard drive in gigs, SSD, and then that it's a USB 3.
I put in a link in the chat for the external drives from Best Buy in case you need them.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Thanks, man.
Awesome. Yeah, go ahead and capture that link or do a copy from it real quick because I am about to stop the stream and then all that chat information goes away. So yeah, go ahead and make a copy or go ahead and click on it so that would open up that page and you can see where that is. And let me see what time it is because I do need to start closing stuff down. We're at 3:53, so I got time for one last quick question. If anybody has one.
Professor, I have one.
Yes, sir.
Is the in the downloads, the publisher and creator downloads are the same?
As far as what we're doing with it, yes, they are going to be the same. The difference is that what that does is it changes your account with Unreal. So if you download the publisher one, then you're telling Unreal Engine that you are a publisher. If you download the creator one, you're basically saying I'm not a publisher. And what a publisher means is somebody that intends to put out a game and make money. So if we're using this for education, at this point we're creators. We're creating games, but we're not marketing them. We're not putting them out on the market to make money. And the reason why they make this distinction is because Unreal doesn't charge you for their product until you start making money with it. So the second you make your first $1 million and you have a creator account, they will ask for 5% of that $1 million. And that's how they make their money. Now, if you are a studio and you publish games all the time, then they won't let you get a free license. You will have to pay for your license. So what they're doing is they're making it easy for students and for people that are learning the engine or people that intend to use it but don't intend to publish games with it.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. Now there are some gray lines there because some people do use Unreal Engine for film, and that would be that they're not intending to. But if you're Lucas Arts and you're making The Mandalorian and you're using Unreal Engine for background scenes, then you have enough money to pay Unreal Engine for a license.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, so that's what they're doing. I mean, that's what that whole thing is. Otherwise, for you, whether you download one or the other, you're not going to notice a difference in the copy that you're using. Because the copy that you download, the engine is still the same. There's no distinction in the engine. What happens is how Unreal treats you or your account.
And I just want to make sure because the creator, it sounds like I create games on it.
Right, but I can create a video, or I can create a movie, or I can create a commercial, or I can create a lot of different things using Unreal, and that's not a game. And publishing means, if you're a publisher, and we're going to talk about this at some point because we're going to be talking about the way the industry works. But think about it. Think about the music industry, because that's a lot easier for some people to grasp how it works, right? So if I'm a publisher in the music industry, I'm Capitol Records, I am MGM Records, I am a record company, and my thing is that I intend to bring artists up, make music, which would be like making a game, and then sell that music. And as a publisher, what a publisher does is they take something and they put it on. So if I'm a book publisher, I'm taking words and I'm affixing them to paper. If I'm a movie company, I'm taking a movie and affixing it to a DVD. So a publisher would have had to publish or produce an item that could then be sold at a market. Right? So book publishing, video game publishing, TV publishers. Do you see how that word is being used? And there is I actually have a video tutorial where we're going to talk about the industry, different aspects of the industry. But for right now, don't worry about which one you've selected. You're going to be fine. It's not going to change anything for you at the program level.
Okay, I see now.
Yeah.
Well, yes, but thank you. But right now, you said that internal hard drive and external hard drive. So right now I have to do what I am currently using.
Yeah, if you have a laptop, you have a laptop, right?
Yes, I have a laptop.
Okay, so you're probably not going to be able to do an internal hard drive because there's no space in that laptop to put another hard drive. So that's why you're going to have to go external. Okay, if I had a desktop computer, like one that, like at work or at school, right, where the computer is not a laptop, where the screen and the computer are different, then usually on that kind of on a desktop computer, I can open up the desktop and there would be space, and I could jam in a bunch of hard drives. But on a laptop, more difficult because your space is restricted, so that's why you would go to an external.
Thank you, Professor.
Yep, no problem, dude. Sir, Mr. James. Okay, cool. That's all the questions I can take for today. I do need to go ahead and close up the class and start getting ready for my next job. So I will see you guys on Monday. Have a wonderful week. And if you have any additional questions, send me an email through Canvas, and I'll be happy to see if I can help you there. Okay? I'll take care.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right. Bye-bye now.
Thank you, sir.
I have a
Have a nice
question.
day.
So it's okay for me to have the publishing license for me?
It doesn't matter which one you use, because to us and in the class, you won't notice a difference in the software because there is no difference in the software.
Okay. Yeah.
So either one.
Okay.
All right. Y'all take care. Have a good one.
Take care. See ya.
Yeah.
Yeah, bye. I'm going to try to do what you did in the stream.
Yeah, just follow along with the videos, and then we'll see you guys on Monday.
Okay.
All right. Take care.